Okay, I think we're live. Here we are. Today I'm going to be drinking some shop brand energy drink. There you go. So it's only pound for a litre. I've had this before. It's actually quite nice. I prefer. I've never liked. I've never liked Red Bull. I do prefer the cheaper shop brands. Yeah, okay. Let's see. We've got a whole bunch of people. Before I get in to do the some people, we've got Neil Fitzpatrick, Paul Villis, Mark Mullet, Just Jenner, the Sims Insider, Andy Smith, Jack Mc. Now I always pronounce this Jack McGreedy. There you go, as opposed to McCready, it was in the thing. Yeah, I always have to read your name carefully to get it right. Jack McGreedy. Jesse, Lisa Lovely, Bates Boyo is in the house as well. There you go. All right, there's a bunch of shout outs. Let me let me dive straight in. I've got a big stack and see how many we go through. This is only the top two I know. See no evil, hear no evil. Now this is from, I'm sure, the mid to late 80s. I'm trying to look on the back here. Anyway, but Richard Pryor, Gene Wilder, two very funny people. They've done this, and Stir Crazy is the and Silver Bullet, the one about the with the train. So there's at least three they've been in. Richard Pryor, he is blind. Gene Wilder, behind the sticker here, he's deaf. And together they witness a crime, they witness a murder, and of course the bad guys are after them because they're the witnesses. I think they get mistaken for the killers at some point, which is a usual storyline for movies of that age. You know, we mistake the good guys for the bad guys. Very funny, though. I mean, they do work together. And, you know, I mean, it's been a while since I've watched this, but, you know, like when somebody's acting blind or acting in a certain way, which they, you know, say they're deaf or they're blind or whatever, or they've got an ailment with their leg. You always, you know, you sometimes if you pay attention, you watch them just to see if they slip as an actor, you know, see if they continue. But no, there was another. There was even the interacting things like when, say, Richard Pryor is talking, but Gene Wilder is not looking. That's what, you know, and of course he doesn't know that he's talking to them because he can't see him. He's not looking. That's what he can't see. So little things like that, you know, that they were good to not slip up on little things like that. Very funny. Yeah, well, worth a go, I think. You know, that they've done at least 3 movies together. All good. Okay. What's this? Oh, the Green Hornet. Green Hornet. Now, this has got Seth Rogen, Jay Chow, who I think played Sulu in the more recent Star Treks. It's got Christoph Waltz, which I was never I never used to watch the original Green Hornet TV show with Bruce Lee. I was, you know, a bit young to be around then. And I got to tell you, I wasn't that impressed with this. It was okay. I tell you, the best part of the whole thing was Christoph Waltz. He plays the gangster. His character's quite funny because he's got a double. He has made a double pistol, 2 pistols joined together, just to be different. And he's an up and coming criminal master boss, but he's sort of like he doesn't dress correctly as a mob boss. He gets made fun of by other mob bosses, of which he retaliates. But he's kind of like a mob boss that's not particularly sure of himself at the beginning. But it's worth a go for Christoph Waltz. As for the rest of it, no, not a great movie. What's this? Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. Now, I'm trying to think. Did these have these been together in another? I don't think they have. John Candy here and Steve Martin, of course, over here. It's quite a funny. It's more like a buddy movie but of course they're not buddies. Steve Martin has to get to from like New York to someplace to his family, for Christmas. He gets into all kinds of trouble. His rental car is not waiting for him. He's behind schedule. Loses his money, loses his things. He meets up with John Candy, who's always funny. He's done some really good stuff. And John Candy's a curtain ring salesman, which is a bit unusual. And it's kind of like I don't know, the situations that they get into is really funny. The car sets on fire. One throws a cigarette out. It blows back into the back seat, sets the car on fire. Then they're driving down the street in a basically a chassis with wheels. A funny film. It's a good it's an hour and a half, which is very typical of the era. So I'm just reading the back here. Nightmare, the written and produced and directed by John Hughes, who's done a whole bunch of comedies. Mid-80s film. If you want a bit of nostalgia, and worth a go. What we got here? Okay. Return of the Living Dead 2. Now, this is an interesting one because, of course, as you'd imagine, it's a continuation of Return of the Living Dead 1, which was very funny. I've actually got it here in a heap somewhere, or on the shelves. I don't know, but I've got it somewhere. I won't tell you about the first one because I'll find that disc and tell you about it. But the second one is sort of set within days or weeks, I think, of the or could be longer from the first one. Usual thing, some toxic waste is being transported from one place to another via army trucks. It's in the middle of a storm. They hit a bump. The can of toxic sludge goes in the river, and the zombie comes alive that's contained in the canister. Usual, the kids find out. It's quite, the things. I don't want to say it's not good. It's okay, not as good as the first one where they're in the morgue, or at least you've got the morgue, which is next to the graveyard, which is next to the hospital supplied department where the main story takes part. This one's a good follow-up, but not as good as the first, but it's good, sort of. It's not an out-and-out horror, but it's not an out-and-out comedy. It's not a comedy horror like the first one. It's more of a, I don't know, it's sort of a light horror. Goodfellas, or Goodfellas. There we go. A good mobster movie. Mobsters taking over whatever town they're, Chicago or let's see. It doesn't really. I can't remember, but I've watched it a whole bunch of times. This is the one with the scene in the restaurant with the Ray Liotta saying to Joe Pesci, you think you're I think you're a pretty funny guy, all this, and there's the big, that famous interaction, well, what do you think, I'm a clown, or sort of like trying to test him to see how he'd react under questioning. Yeah, quite some brutal stuff in here. Some stabbing, some shootings, some beatings, some all kinds of stuff. Based on a true story of Henry Hill, played by Liotta on the right here, or your left. It's quite a brutal story. A lot of the usual faces are in there. Written by Martin Scorsese, or directed by Martin Scorsese. I think he might have had in writing it as well. But loosely based on the Henry Hill. Basically, the rise and fall of the criminal underworld types. Live by the sword, die by the sword. Entertaining, very graphic. There's a lot of violence. What's this? Terminal Velocity. There we go. Pick this up for 50 pence. Sometimes I keep the receipts. If I buy a single disc, and I bought this in 2015, the 12th of the 10th, which is October, 12th of October 2015. There you go. So about that, 5 years. Okay, basically, Charlie Sheen here, brother of Emilio Estevez, who's not in this movie, but Charlie Sheen, he's a cocky, wisecracking, smart mouth parachute instructor. Okay, if similar to what I've done a parachute jump, and what you jump out of the plane with a person. It's called a tandem jump, and that's what this guy does. He takes people up in the plane. He jumps out with somebody strapped to him, but basically to give him the experience of a parachute jump. Unfortunately, there's a group of bad people. The guy from The Sopranos, the lead from The Sopranos, he's in it. They're looking to fake the death of this woman. So what they do is they have him jump out of the plane with somebody who he thinks he's attached to. That person. Anyway, there's a big switcheroo. They sling a dead body out to make it look like that he wasn't attached to the person that jumped out of the plane. She fell to her death, pancaked in the desert floor. And then there's a big drama about him trying to clear his name, and of course the mobsters are trying to get him. Lots of there's some explosions. There's some pretty good stunts. I'm being reminded by the pictures on the back as well. There's there's a car going out, and then there's somebody in the trunk of a car, and they just get sent out of a plane, plummeting to earth, and he has to dive out there and open up the boot, save the person in the boot. Plenty of skydiving action. Thrills and spills, gunfire, explosions. James Gandolfini, that's the one from The Sopranos. He's in it. Oh, here we go. The first one to the. A moment ago, I did Return of the Living Dead, or Return of the Living Dead 2. Now, Return of the Living Dead Part 1. Although it wasn't called Part 1, it was just Return of the Living Dead. They don't normally name them Part 1 until... Anyway. Now, this is worth a go. It is just... It's not played for... It's played as a light-hearted slapstick serious horror. I find the best humor and the best horror is when you've got your characters in a dire situation, they're playing it seriously, and it's up to the audience to see the humor in what they're doing. I mean, they are doing some silly shit, right? But they're not playing it for laughs. It's not an out-and-out comedy like, say, a John Candy movie or whatever, a group of you've got there's a group of young tearaways. There's half a dozen of them. Teenagers. They got nothing else better to do than to cruise around in their car. One of their group has got a job in a warehouse that supplies hospital equipment. Plastic skeletons and plastic dogs. This kind of thing for learning internal organs and stuff like this. The group hang out in the in the graveyard, waiting for their friend to finish work. Meantime, there's only the kid and the boss in the warehouse, and the guy who's supervisor, the big boss, he's gone for the night. The supervisor's left alone with the kid, and he's sort of he's fucking with the kid a little bit, saying, "Listen, we got some canisters down in the basement, right? And they've been here for years. The government left them here, and because they're doing some wild experiments, and we've got one downstairs. You want to go look?" They go downstairs. The canister erupts. And then all chaos ensues. Then they start to they've breathed in the toxic fumes. They start to slowly turn into zombies, which is a bit inconvenient because their friends are waiting for them outside. Anyway, but it is funny stuff, I like this movie a lot, It's, you've got the guy from the hospital equipment. He's friends with a guy from the morgue next door, so there's a bit of an interaction there, because they want to get rid of some body parts that are they've chopped up a zombie, but unfortunately he's still moving around, trying to persuade his friend there. But it is funny stuff. Yeah. Oh, I haven't seen this. See, the thing is, I'm actually seeing the DVD the same time as you, because I've got no idea what is the next one coming up, so it's a bit of a shocker for me. 300 Spartans. Now, I want to say 1964 for this one. It's 109 minutes. I don't see a date on there. There will be one on here, but bloody, they put the what? Oh, I think. Oh, Jesus Christ! They put writing so small. I think that says 61. I thought 64, but I believe it says 61 at the bottom here. It's got John Gielgud, I believe. Oh no, sorry, Ralph. It's got Richard Egan, Sir Ralph Richardson, Dana Baker, David Farrar, David Houston. There you go. Produced by George St. George. What the hell? Anyway, the idea is it's the old story. The 300 Spartans. Of course, there's no mention of the other 1,000 other soldiers that were with them. It's just also the 300. It's only doesn't make any reference to the 1,000 other soldiers that fight along with them. But it's got some good action in it. It's actually a good story. They realize they're being invaded. They can't do anything until the religious celebration's over. Leonidas goes out with his bodyguards to go defend the pass, and it's different than the movie that came way later. What was that? It must have been around about sort of 2010 or something, around there. They didn't have the special effects back then, but there's plenty of chariots when they're fighting off all the invading, the Thermopylae, the pass of Thermopylae. There's plenty of chariots. There's plenty of armies coming head to head. Spears and swords and shields. There is actually one instance. I noticed these things after I watched it. There is when the two armies come together, one extra actually gets hit in the mouth with a spear or sword. They left that in, but it's real quick. It's like an accident that they figure out. We'll just keep it in there. You know, yeah, and you got your usual story that one guy sells them out for some gold. He tells them about the pass through the mountains. It's quite a good film. You know, it's plenty of epic battles. Quite good. Now, for 1961, it's not going to be overly violent. There's not going to be too much blood and guts. They just didn't do that in those days. But for a good wholesome story, some good acting. I mean, it's a bit good acting for the day, I guess. I mean, this is 1961 acting, which is a bit wooden by today's standards. But very enjoyable movie. Bob Matthews. I was just reading your. Yeah, that was back in '99. That parachute jump, Bob Matthews. Yeah, I was. I think it was about a month after my 29th. Okay. Game Boy Gaming Let's Plays in the house. George C. Not a Troll is in the house. TDCT, hello to you. Bob Matthews, Max Larson. Okay. All right. Let's do another one. Right, what have we got here? Ah, right. Now, shit. I had to look at what was at the top there because I was thinking, remember the three with Gerard Butler, the 300? Well, this, the Gerard Butler and I can't think of his name. Shit. He was in 12 Years a Slave. He was the white slaver. Fassbender's in it. What must be one of his early roles, I'd say, because he's young and thin. Anyway, they were having the battle at Thermopylae on the land. This is the story of the sea battle that was happening at the same time, down the road somewhere. So this is the sea battle. Now, this has got, or not at the same time, but, in roughly the same time period. It's got, the golden god, the guy who's putting himself over as a god, Xerxes. They got him in it, and it's the story of how Xerxes came to be. Remember, he's the big god of gods in the 300 version. Well, he's in this, but it's how he's a young guy, and his dad gets killed. Oh, actually, no. Let me go back a little bit. This isn't at the same time as the 300 with Gerard Butler. This is years before. This is how that they have the sea battles, and Xerxes' dad gets killed by this guy, and it's how his son Xerxes wants to take revenge, and he becomes the god of gods, which takes us into the 300. Plenty of action, plenty of fighting, swords, blood and guts, fires. There's lots of ships ships going fighting in battle formations and all this lot. Lots of arrows. You get who's this woman? She's been. Oh, you can't see her. She's not on the front, but there you go. There's the woman. I don't know what her name is. Whoever it is, she's quite a famous actress, and you get to see her naked, which is worth the price of admission in my book. I can't see her name. Eva Green. There you go. Eva Green. She's been in a few films. Anyway. Ah, right. Okay. Well, this is the documentary. I think you can actually watch this on YouTube. But I bought this. Yes, it's from the History Channel. It says at the bottom here. I bought this a long time ago. This is more of a documentary. It's not really sort of a movie or a TV show. It's the documentary, and there is some, there's some information in there about their armor, their swords, their shields, how they trained the Spartans, and the Battle of Thermopylae. But yeah, it's an E certificate. I mean, there is some fighting, but it's more slow motion, silhouetted. There's pretty much no blood and guts because it's a History Channel E certificate, so they're exempt. All right, but yeah, interesting. What we got? Scum. Now this would be one of Ray Winston's early breakout movies. It starts off where Ray Winston he's going into this specific what they call Borstal here in England. It's a youth offenders place where you're too old to be let off scot-free, which happens a lot with kids. They get to know this nowadays, where they're of an age where nothing can happen to them. All right, so he's too old to be let off scot-free, but not old enough to go to the adult prison. So it's in the middle, what they're called youth offenders, or Borstal. Anyway, he joins this Borstal, and it's run by a group of hoodlum types. They're like scamming people for all their money, and controlling all the cigarettes, and basically being assholes to everybody. He just wants to do his time. He's just getting harassed all the time. So he turns the tables. He takes a pipe to some of them, or one of them. A pool ball in a sock, kind of keeping law and order. Who else is there? I think I'm picturing a black guy who I think plays the cat in Red Dwarf. That's it. I believe it's the cat in there. He's in it, I believe. Not so much. There's a few. Some of the prison wardens are familiar faces from TV shows of yesteryear, but the young offenders, I don't seem to recognise a whole bunch of those. See, I'm getting messages coming up. We're going to take that off. There's one scene in particular which kind of sums up the way we work in England, is where these these youths, they're in a group, and they've got the nerve to be complaining about the food. Which is typical, you go to prison, you get what you're given, right? But which is kind of a bit annoying, but probably true to life as far as I can tell. That they want crispy batter. They're not happy with a soggy batter. They don't understand that if you weren't a thieving scumbag, you could go eat fish and chips all bloody day long if you wanted on the outside, but you've committed the crime. You're inside. You get what you're given, and they're complaining about the food. So anyway, aside from that, it's a very gritty. There's some violence. There's one rape scene. There's one suicide. A lot of beatings from the guards, which is not altogether bad. I mean, you got to keep law and order, but they're in there. They're not shy about dishing out a whooping. What we got here? Right. Now, Deliverance. Now, this is a blast from the past. This is the kind of movie that I like movies with a very small amount of people in it. Buddy movies. There's like two main characters, 3 or 4 surrounding characters that come in and out. Tremors, for example. Breakfast Club. A small amount of people. This has got 4 main characters. You got Burt Reynolds here, and then you've got John Voight, dad of Angelina Jolie. Let me see. You've got the guy from the captain from Beverly Hills Cop, and he was the baddie in Total Recall with Schwarzenegger. Oh, and you got the little fat guy. He was in the Superman movies along with Gene Hackman, Mr. Luthor. You know, but you know, one of the early. There might be the second one. The one with the three baddies from Krypton. You know, all of that coming. Anyway, so you got those four. They're going on basically for the. I'm trying to describe it without giving too much away, but telling people who haven't seen these movies a little bit about them. So I'll do what I can. These four guys, they're not particularly pals as such. Some of them know each other more than the rest of them do, but they all seem to work together. And for some reason, they've all decided to all go on a boating trip. They drive their cars up to the top of the, one end of the, the river, miles upstream. They get the canoes out and they set off going downstream. It'll take several days, and enjoying the trip. And then they pay the hillbillies to drive their cars and meet them down at the end of the, end of the river. Now they're going down the river. Burt Reynolds, he's a survivalist. He's got a bow. He's sort of bow fishing from the boat. They meet up with a couple of hillbilly rapists, which is a bit unfortunate, but they end up killing them. And then there's a big hoo-ha between the four guys about, do we go to the police? Do we tell them what happened? Of course, some of them are for that. Some of them have got more sense than that. They realize that, well, you would just kill two men. It doesn't matter what they were doing. Their relatives are going to be on the jury when we go to court. Do we need this kind of bullshit in our lives? We want to forget about this, go back to our lives, go back to work. Miles away. And then they're being tracked by. They managed to kill one. They're being tracked by the other, and they've got to try and get away. Well, they're going to try and kill him as well, or sort him out. Very, very good. It's action. There's a lot of thrills and spills on the rapids. I don't know whether I'm selling this very well, but basically, four guys who barely know each other have got to depend on each other for their lives to get from one end of the rapids, miles. We're talking a lot of miles downstream. Rough as hell with the waterfalls and whatnot, and the rocks, on some flimsy canoes, and trying to get her, dealing with the fact that they've just killed a man, and they're being hunted by the other one, so they got to, deal with him, otherwise be killed. Yeah, very suspenseful. But this has got to be early 80s. Oh, I don't know. Actually, no, forget it. I was early 70s rather. It says 72. That's interesting. Which, yeah, would be about right, about 1972. Okay. Anyway. Okay, let's give it a see. Now Black Ball. There we go. I'll do this and then I'll do a couple of shout outs probably. Now Black Ball. This guy is he's been in some stuff. I can't think of what his name is. You remember Alas Smith and Jones? You've got Griff Rhys Jones and somebody Smith. Mel Smith. Mel Smith is the guy who wrote or directed. Well, he directed it. I don't know whether he wrote it. Oh yeah. Executive producers Mel Smith and somebody else. And he directed it as well. Okay, so you got him on the back here. You got Johnny Vegas, who's the chubby one there. You got the guy from the front cover, who's the star of the show. You got this guy his name's Cromwell. He's been in a bunch of stuff. Always the villain, but he played the farmer in Pig in the movie. Was it Pig? Anyway, the idea is that there's a bowls club who are sort of like, like a whole bunch of old guys. They're all playing bowls, which for those who don't know, you got one big black ball. You got to roll down the green to try and get as near as you can to the white ball. That's basically the idea of that. Yeah, they don't want this guy. He's young, he's brash, he's cocky, he's got a big mouth, he's very good at bowls. They don't want him in, and they're all old codgers, so they're always messing around with the rule book and trying to keep him out, trying to keep him banned. Usual stuff. He gets mixed up with his enemy's daughter. They have to team up to go on television to play against some foreign teams. Oh, there's a guy. Remember there was a guy from Neighbours. He used to be a funny one. I think he had a dog. Anyway, he's in it. There's a few familiar faces. I'm trying to pick, but all in all, it's just a feel-good comedy. It is how the little guy is getting persecuted by the not the big guy, but the people who run the bowls club. They're a bit old-fashioned. They're all old. They don't want this young guy in, but he's got the skills. Yeah, and they have to team up to win the tournament. Yeah. Yeah, worth a go. A bit of a giggle there. Anyway, okay. Oh. Let's see. So we've got any people? The Tech Kid Gaming's in the house. Game Boy Gaming, TDC. Scum is a great movie, indeed. Yeah. TDC says Phil Daniels from Quadrophenia is in Scum. Yeah, I'm trying to think. I remember Sting was in Scum, and the guy from Coronation Street, he was in it as well. Yeah, not a troll. The rape scene in Scum was brutal, indeed. Yeah, in the greenhouse. Shit, it's oh boy. Yeah, TDC, Squeal Like a Pig in Deliverance. Squeal Piggy from Not Troll. Oh, Lee Merton's in the house. Hello to you. And oh boy. Well, that's the thing, Well, so I mean, the thing is, I've got the vodka down. If you're talking about the vodka, I mean, it's not really a habit for me. I just drink it when when the mood arises. But yeah, today I'm on I've got the energy drink. Actually, I might switch on to vodka later. Adidas 98, Mark. You done Snow White and the Seven Snorts? No. No, actually, what? I might have the Huntsman. It was the Huntsman. I think it had that Theron woman in it, and the guy from Thor. That sounds familiar, but that's the nearest one I've got to Snow White. Spuddy's in the house. Batesy Boyo, any new prepper vid ideas? Well, yeah. Well, the thing is, yeah. I mean, I've got loads of ideas. I've been making those little penny stoves. I've been making half a dozen of those. I just need to get hold of some meth to, light it up. I mentioned last week that the things like the bog rolls, washing up liquid, laundry powder, a few other things that they're in. I mean, I've got enough stock. I just don't have enough to make a video of it. Because I gave some of that away. So what I'll do, when I restock my stock, then I'll be making some proper vids. of some prepper videos. It's just that, I mean, I've got stuff to, to show, just not enough to make a video, of anything. But yeah, once I get the stocks up. Scott Morgan's in the house. Yeah, well, yeah. People want me to go on the vodka. Well, I go on the vodka most live streams. It's not really a habit like some people. It's just something I drink. I just either drink it or not. Okay, Spud says his friend Joe Wilson is currently in hospital at the moment due to being ill. Was wondering if he could give him a shout out. He's a big fan and watches all your videos. So thank you very much, Spud. That's to Joe Wilson, who's laid up in hospital. Batesy Boyo, Google Kratky hydroponics on plastic. Actually, yeah, I have seen hydroponics. People growing plants in water without dirt in plastic pots. Yeah, some interesting stuff. Which if anybody, not many people did, but with that, when I was filming the chickens down at the allotment, what I did, I had all kinds of grain in a silver tray, in a tinfoil tray. Let that grow for 2 weeks. It'd be like a thick carpet. You'd have a thick matted roots at the bottom with 2 inches of green that would sprout, and then you pick it up, and it's like a carpet. You throw it down for the chickens. But I was researching all that kind of stuff. They do that for the blacks are doing that in Africa, where there's not a lot of dirt and not a lot of water. They're growing basically growing them in big trays like that, just picking them up a bit like doormats. Put them down for the cows. Anyway, I research all that stuff. Right, what's this? Animal House. Now there is a. Now this is just good old slapstick, funny, being silly, being young and getting away with everything kind of movie. You've got your rich kids, you've got your nerds, bit of a rivalry between them. James Belushi. It's written by Harold Ramis, who of course played Egon in Ghostbusters. You got a lot of familiar. You got the guy. I'm looking at the back picture there. You got a guy who played Mozart. Oh shit, he was in a. Oh jeez, my mind's going. Anyway, he was in a movie. Famous. You got James Belushi. Yeah, just a lot of wildness, wackiness, partying, drug taking, motorbikes being driven through the house kind of thing. Lots of funny wackiness. The Big Country. Now, this one is quite good. It's 1958. So this is probably one of my older movies. I've got a few of this era. You got Gregory Peck, Joan Sims, who's the woman on the back. There you go, with Charlton Heston, Carol Baker, Burl Ives. There you go. So that's Gregory Peck on the front. The idea is that his soon-to-be wife, Joan Sims, she lives on her parents' ranch, cattle ranch, with all the ranch hands, Charlton Heston being the lead ranch hand, who's in love with her, but Gregory Peck's her boyfriend, who they're going to get married. They met while on, she's traveling abroad. He comes over And he, while the cowboys are thinking he's just some city slicker and he's not very tough. He's one of these people which you don't often see. Like he gets challenged to ride this particularly um, energetic horse. For like a mini rodeo. He gets challenged to do that. He turns the challenge down, which makes him look bad in the eyes of everybody who's watching. They all think he's chicken, but he's one of these people. He doesn't need to prove anything. So when everybody's gone to bed or everybody's out of the, out there herding some cattle, that's when he does it. Things like this. He doesn't do anything to. But he travels around. There's another Hollywood staple. You've got two feuding families. Okay, one of them controls the water, which means that the other family either don't get the water and their crops and cattle die. So they're beholding on the other family, which causes tension, and there's fighting amongst each other. His marriage could solve that. His marriage to Joan Sims, because if he's married, because Joan Sims' family control the water. So if Gregory Peck marries the daughter, he intends to let everybody use the water. So let's see. Chuck Connors is in there. Yeah, Chuck Connors is an old name from the westerns. Anyway. Oh, Music of Chance. Now, this is one I remember I talked about on the when I did the movie questions. This came up. Now, this is a very subtle movie. Again, there's no gunfire, there's no special effects, no explosions. It's a good, solid story. You've got James Spader here, and you've got Mandy Patinkin here. Alien Nation, he was in. He was in some TV show where he's they're trying to chase down some killers. Of course, in his early days, he was in Pretty in Pink. He's been in loads of stuff. Mandy Patinkin's driving down the road. He's doing a bit of a road trip. He's a fireman, and he's sort of like, quit his job or something. He picks up a hitchhiker, David Spade. They get talking. David Spade actually on his way to a house in order to play cards with two rich brothers. They've got more money than sense, as far as he remembers. So he's on his way there to try and basically fleece them at the poker table. But unfortunately for him, they've been learning how to play cards, so now they know how to do it. So he joins in with Mandy Patinkin there. They're all playing cards, and of course the two brothers know how to play cards, unbeknownst to these two, and they win all the money, and they win, and then some. So these two guys are in hock to the two brothers for a bunch of money. They've got no way to pay it. Of course, they're not about to take an IOU. So the two brothers say to these two, "Okay, well, you owe us, I don't know what the money is, say, several $1,000s. You got no way of paying it back. So why don't you just work for us?" And, but basically it's building a stone wall. There's like 1,000 stone bricks, boulders. They're not really sort of like uniform shape or anything. There's just boulders. There's a big heap of them in the garden, this huge garden. They've got to turn that pile of bricks into a brick wall, like 12 feet tall, 4 feet thick. It's a huge wall, and it takes them several months. And they got to live in a caravan on the land, and and it's basically that they're developing friendship. These two guys. Now, who's E. Emmett Walsh? I think the guy there in the red shirt. E. Emmett Walsh. Now he's I think he's dead now, but he's been in loads of stuff. Oh, it says on about $10,000 is what they owe. I wasn't sure it was that much, but that sounds about right, considering the amount of time and effort they put into building this wall. But yeah, I mean, these two brothers are, basically messing with them. They agree to an hourly rate, a certain amount of hours a day for a certain amount of money per hour. This is how long we've got to work for, and then the contract's finished. And then it turns out the two brothers are charging them for food and, living in a caravan. Food and lodging they're being charged for, so that means they've got to work more to pay off that. But a very good story. I'm not really selling it again, but a very good story. Ah, right. Now, I remember this from when I had the video shop years ago. I used to tell people, no matter how, if you're having a really rough day, come in, rent this, and you'll know what a bad day is, right? Shit, it's Chris, Sean Penn. You got Sean Penn. You got Jennifer Lopez. You got Nick Nolte over here. You got Powers Booth. There you go. He was in Deadwood, the TV show. You got her, which I'm not sure what his name is. Joaquin Phoenix, of course, who plays the Joker most recently. Oh, Billy Bob Thornton. There you go, all covered in grease. He's the scumbag mechanic. And then you got John Voight playing a blind Indian. you know. But yeah, Sean Penn. He owes a bunch of money to some mobsters. He's basically on the run. He runs into a bit of car trouble. He meets up with her, goes back to her house. He's going to be, thinking he's going to be making out with her, and then the husband shows up, Nick Nolte. A bit of a altercation ensues. And the thing is, he's desperate for money. He's on the run because he owes a bunch of money that he hasn't got. The mobsters are after him. He's got car trouble. He meets up with her. She offers Sean Penn there a job of killing her husband, Nick Nolte. And in return, they'll split the money in the safe. They kill the husband, get the money in the safe. And the whole way through, this guy, nothing goes right for him. Right from the minute the story, within the first couple of minutes of the movie, it is like one thing after another. It is amazing how many bad things this guy just has. If he didn't have any bad luck, he wouldn't have any luck at all, is what they, as the saying goes. It is just horrendous, the amount of, I mean, I'll tell you what, it is right from the first couple of minutes of the movie, his luck goes downhill, literally till the last 2 minutes of the movie. From the 2 minutes from the start, from the 2 minutes to the end, it is just awkward, non-stop aggravation. Nothing's going right. He's having the worst day of his life. A must-see. U-turn. Yeah, that's one. That'll be on the list of films you should see before you miss out. Let me see. No, not a lot of people writing. Very interesting concept, and seem to be doing. Well, these are told by. Oh, Batesy Boyo. Oh, a birdseed. Yeah, I don't know if are you talking to me. Are you talking about when I put it in the tray, let it grow, and then the roots? There's no dirt in the tray; it's just water, and all the roots they mat together like a thick carpet. It's great. Yeah, so you just pick it up like a rug, like a bit of carpet by the green shrubs, and you just put it down. Chickens dive in there. I've seen people on the internet, on YouTube, they'll feed they'll feed it to the chickens, and of course the ducks will dive in there, and then when the ducks and chickens have had their fill, then the cows and the pigs come in, and the sheep, they'll come in and demolish the lot, and they can eat everything because there's no dirt in there. It's just, like I say, the roots are all matted. They can eat everything from the roots upwards. It's not like grass growing out of the earth where you nip at the top. You can eat everything, and they do. Because that's where the nutrients for the animal, apparently it's more nutritious to eat the greenery when it sprouts than they do when it's in seed form. Uh, anyway, but yeah, I used to do that for the chickens, for the woman down the road there when I was filming the chickens. If I get the allotment, then if there's anybody with chickens, what I'll do is I'll probably do the same, and then offer to basically grow this stuff in exchange for something. Get a bit of trading action going. No Country for Old Men. Now, this is a very, very good film. You got Anton Chigurh, the main villain. You got Tommy Lee Jones. You got Josh Brolin, whose dad was in the Yul Brynner's Westworld. You got his wife, Brolin's wife, or screen wife. She's actually Scottish, I think. She does a good job of the accent. So you got four main characters, and so basically there's in the middle of the desert, you got a lot of Mexicans, you got a lot of people. All the trucks come together in the middle of the desert. There's supposed to be some kind of drug money transaction. It all goes south. Everybody gets killed. Brolin comes along by accident. He's just doing some hunting, trying to look for a deer or something with his rifle. Comes along on this this pile of dead bodies, and there's it's about 4 trucks, a load of dead bodies, load of guns, all the money, load of drugs. Anyway, he just happened to stumble across it. He's tracking the one survivor. The one survivor makes it a little while, half a mile away from the carnage. He's got a bag full of money, so he takes the money. And then, of course, he doesn't realize that there's a tracker in with the money. So then that's when Anton Chigurh, Gerard Bardem. Now, he's just an out-and-out psycho killer. I mean, there's not too many other words to describe this guy. He'll just kill, well, literally on the flip of a coin, which is what he does several times in the movie. He'll whether you live or die depends on the flip of a coin. And he's tracking Josh Brolin there. There's a bit of a cat and mouse thing. Yeah, very good. I mean, there's a load of. I say not a lot of gunfire and explosions. There's some gunfire. There's one explosion. But it's one of those where it's the story. It's not governed by special effects like a lot of bullshit in Hollywood nowadays. It's it's just cat and mouse, and he has to outwit. He's being chased by Bardem there, Mr. Anton Chigurh. It's not Anton Sugar as it's pronounced in one time in the movie. It's Chigurh. Trying to see ambitious super thriller stumbles bloody crime scene. Actually, I'll probably do a better job of just actually reading the back to you. That might be trying to see how you spell Anton Sugar. Anyway, I can't see it. Yeah, Tommy Lee Jones. Yeah, all in all, a very good film. I mean, this Bardem, he walks around for some reason with a gas tank with a hose. Well, it's one of those bolts. You press the button and a bolt comes out of the handle. It's for doing over cows. You put this up to their head and press, and it shoots into their skull like 2 inches. The bolt. He carries one of those around, kills a few people with that. Anyway, what we do? Now this Burt Wonderstone, the incredible Burt Wonderstone. This is actually quite funny. It's got Steve Carell from the American version of The Office. She's Steve Buscemi, who I've not seen in too many. That's Steve Buscemi there. I've not seen him in too many comedy movies. I'm trying to think of that movie that. There's a movie that I saw him in. Him with one of the Baldwin brothers. That there are 3 friends and the guy from The Mummy. The first Mummy and the second Mummy. They're a couple of hippies. Their band is called the Lone Rangers, and they hold up this radio station. Anyway, that and this. So I can't think of too many comedies that Buscemi's been in. Who else have we got? Olivia Wilde, Alan Arkin, and Jim Carrey. Now, these are a bunch of. It's kind of like a comedy spoof on the magicians, the special, waving around. Oh, look at this, I'm doing this over here while I'm messing something over here. It's the illusionists, the high end, the David Copperfield type, the high end illusionists, and they do a thing where they're to do a stunt to get promotion for themselves. They put them, they're in a glass box being suspended above the car park, and it's funny stuff. Jim Carrey's in it. He plays a character similar to those street magicians where it's all fixed beforehand, but they'll show up and they'll be pretending to throw a pack of cards against a window, and the card will be stuck on the inside. One of those types, and he'll be mind reading in the street with some with some plants, people that he knows, and like that. So Buscemi and Steve Carell, they've been doing this for a long time, and their relationships get a bit frayed. Jim Carrey comes along; he's the new flavor of the month, and he's sort of taken over the limelight kind of thing. Yeah, it's funny stuff, It's yeah. Anyway, yeah, it's good stuff. It's worth a go. It's been a while since I've seen this, but I remember it being quite funny. Now this is interesting. Not to be confused with Outland, with Sean Connery space movie. This is Outlander. It's got John Hurt. It's got Jim Caviezel, who played Jesus in Mel Gibson's Jesus movie. Ron Perlman is in it. Now, the idea of this it is very. The film is good to an extent. It's a bit far fetched, in places, but the concept is he is an intergalactic, I don't know, space traveler. His home world has been invaded by these monsters who they're in a big epic battle with. Now, he has one captive on his ship, and his ship crashes on this backward Stone Age planet, which could be Earth. Quite frankly, at this point, it's difficult to tell. In the past, it's not a time travel movie. He's not time traveled back in time. It's just that he's from an advanced culture. He's got one of these monsters captive in his ship. The ship crashes on the planet occupied by these Vikings, of which John Hurt is the leader of one of the groups. The monster escapes, wreaking havoc, and it basically is killing all these Viking types, And Jim Caviezel, he joined one of the groups. In fact, I might watch this again tonight, Anyway, he joins one of the groups, and then he has to, join the two rival villages, the two rival gangs of Vikings together to fight this one monster. And they're building traps. It gets a bit far-fetched in some places, where they dig a big pit and fill it with oil, flammable oil. I mean, this thing's about the size of a swimming pool. This trench they dig. How they got that much oil, how they dug the hole in the first place. How the Christ did they fill it with so much oil? Anyway. But yeah, the monster is kind of I don't know if it's invisible, but it's definitely difficult to see, and it's like one of those in pitch black. You can only see its eyes when it's like you've got the fortress where all these Vikings are hiding in their village. You've got 40 feet until the tree line. And what happened? It's like you only know it's there. It's a bit creepy because you only know it's there when they throw a flaming torch out into the dark and it bounces off the creature's head, and then all of a sudden, oh shit, there it is, and then things like that, so it's not. I think it's got some invisibility powers. Yeah, so sword, plenty of swords, plenty of axes, plenty of fighting alien, this alien, all in all, an action movie, Okay. Now this is one of my favorite comedy movies. If you're The Great Outdoors with Dan Aykroyd and John Candy. Now, these two are brother-in-law. I'm not sure how. I think John Candy's wife's sister is married to Dan Aykroyd. I think that's how it works. So the wives are sisters, which makes these two fellas brothers-in-law. John Candy and his wife and his one kid, I think. I can't remember. I think it's one kid. Has they go on the vacation to this lodge, but beside the lake. It's got boat riding and basically living in a cabin in the woods along with all the other cabins and stuff. There's bears and creatures and all kinds of stuff running around. Dan Aykroyd shows up, basically invites himself along with the intention of basically crashing the party, being a pain. And some funny stuff. This is where you've got the bear. There's a story. They tell a fireside story about the bear when he was young. How the bear got shot. He got shot in the head, and his hair come off the top, and it's a famous bear that roams around the woods. So 30 years later, it's still roaming around the woods, and they meet up with the bear again. And there's the funny scene I remember in the whole film's funny. Let's see, it's an hour and 27. This is here 2003. That's not right. I think it's when the cover got remade. Anyway, what was I saying? Yeah, they go into the steakhouse, right? The restaurant cafe, and he eats a monster steak. It's like like it's a huge steak, about the size of a manhole cover. It's a real thick 6-inch steak, 6-inch thick. Manages to eat that, and it nearly kills him, right? But then, of course, he's got to eat all the gristle, and the expression, you can feel for the guy, because I mean, he's like nearly. I mean, I've done it. I went to a Fatty Arbuckle's, and I ate one of their big monster dinners. I think it took me about an hour, and anyway, about an hour and 15 to eat this big dinner, and so I've got an idea about what it's like to eat a big competition-sized dinner. But this was huge. This steak. Yes, so he manages to eat it after all this time. But then, when you really feel for him, when the chef says no, 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 you've got to, all like there's a big thick gristle on the steak that got left behind, big lump of fat. Anyway, but yeah, a good comedy romp, very funny. Lots of slapstick. I mean, John Candy and Dan Aykroyd are good on their own, but when they were teamed up in this, they're really excellent. And there's several actually. You might, if you've seen this box before, you might. There's actually several different versions I've seen on the internet of the cover. That's the thing. I mean, because the covers can be quite deceiving sometimes. You've got the raccoons there. They're in the movie. The bear right there is in the movie, but the bear doesn't drive the speedboat. So they took a bit of liberty there with the facts. John Doherty's in the house. Never seen it. NCFOM. I don't know what that means, but I've heard good things. Oh, John Doherty. No, I'm not a big fan of the American version of The Office. I've actually, I tell you, the Americans, they butcher English comedy. I'm going to get off the subject in a minute. I'll divert to this one. Yeah, I mean, they've done it with. Believe it or not, they did an American version of Faulty Towers. Can you believe that? I swear to Christ, it was within seconds. I saw it on YouTube. Within seconds, I'm looking at it and I think, hello, this looks familiar to me. And I watch it for a couple of minutes. But Christ, it's a rip-off of Faulty Towers, and it wasn't good. It was a typical American thing where I mean, I don't want to put the American comedy down. I mean, they've done some good movies, but they've done an American Red Dwarf as well. They've done the American. It's just the English version with all the comedies: Red Dwarf, The Office, Faulty Towers. The comedy is partly what they say, but it's partly how they say it. It's partly the body language of when they say it also, and it's partly the reaction of the person they're saying it to. All these combined, whereas you watch any American show, they've got to get a laugh every 15, 20 seconds. You count it. Every 20 seconds, there's a one-liner, and it's usually some smart guy, some smart mouth comment. There's not a lot of interaction between, especially the Red Dwarf in particular. Crichton was the original. Crichton was the only funny thing in the American one. They took him from the English and put him over to the American one. But whereas the English one is, like I say, what they say, how they say it, body language involved. and the reaction of who they're saying. So all these combined, whereas the American, it's just got to get a smart line out every 20 seconds. It doesn't. I'm not sure the Americans like it. I mean, what the fuck do they know? That it's something that they're used to. But when you see proper comedy, it's. I mean, look at the New Statesman with Alan Bastard, with Rick Mayall, played by Rick Mayall. The raise of an eyebrow. He's selling his what's going through his mind. He's a complete bastard in the show, as his name, Alan Bastard. He's a real shit. But when I can't think of his little sidekick. I can't think of his name. But when he says something, his little sniveling little mate there, when he says something, there was, like he could have you. There's been scenes where Rick Mayall, Alan Bastard, has got his back to you, and his little sidekick will say something, and the fact that he stops what he's doing. He's up, he raises his head, and then he turns to the camera. There's 3 laughs right there. And the guy's got his back to you. That's the art of comedy. That's Rick Mayall in the New Statesman, Alan Bastard. 3 laughs, and the guy's got his. You're not even looking at his face. You're looking at him. Stop. He's just heard what's happened. Oh, really? And then tell me more. Then turns to the camera, and you can see the deviousness and the facial expression. 3 laughs, and the guy doesn't even have to look at you. That's the difference. So, in order to answer your question, no, I don't like the American version. No, I mean there's some. I used to like Taxi when I was younger, in particular Danny DeVito's character. There has been some American comedy TV shows, not so much Friends. That was I've watched a bunch of that, but I didn't really enjoy that. But no. Anyway. Jesse's in the house. Dr. Israel. Oh, Dr. Israel. Okay, there you go. Come on. Let me see. There you go. You want a timeout? That's what you get. All right, I'm gonna have a quick drink of my energy drink, keep my strength up. But yeah, Red Dwarf, the American version, which they got Crichton, somebody Llewellyn, to play Crichton from the English show, which is the American. He was the only decent character in it. You got the guys who played all the regular characters, the Rimmer, the black fella's, the brown fella's name with the dreadlocks. The cat. They were all there doing their one-line zingers every 20 seconds. Whereas Crichton, he was getting laughs just by again with the eyebrow, just turn of the head. Now, if you want comedy, watch English comedies. Now, Richard Pryor and another John Candy movie, Brewster's Millions. Now, this came out. Let's see, it's an hour and 37. I'm not sure what year. It's got to be mid-80s. Everything was, all the decent stuff is in the mid-80s. Montgomery Brewster. There you go. His dad, or his uncle, or great granddad, or some shit, right? Is a honky, or according to the as he describes himself in the movie, is a millionaire. He dies, and in his will, he leaves Montgomery Brewster here. What was it? 30. Or it was like $300 million, but there's a catch. You can either have a whole bunch of money now and forget the whole thing, just piss off and just have this boatload of money. Let me see. It says on the back here. Oh, he has to. He stands to inherit 300 million, but only if he can spend 30 million in a single month. So the catch is, you can take the 30 million and walk away right now, or you spend the 30 million in 1 month, and if you do that, you'll inherit 300 million. That's a bit. So of course he takes up the challenge, and all comedy ensues. So he's got to spend 30 million in 30 days with no assets. So he can't like buy a Picasso. He can't have anything tangible at the end of it. So he can't buy, like they describe it. Buy a Picasso. You can't buy that because it's something inheritable. You can inherit this. It's worth money. So you can't buy that and turn it into firewood, because that'll be destruction of something that is therefore has inherent value. So basically, he has to buy. He's renting bodyguards out the bank, all the security guards from the bank. He's hiring all of those. He hires a fleet of limousines. He's buying dinner in a restaurant at buying $1,000 bottles of champagne and all this other stuff. Rick Moranis is in it. He plays a small part in there. He's the so he so that's a bit of a funny but yeah, it kind of like it's funny stuff, and you kind of feel for the, well, I mean, you're supposed to feel for the guy, because I mean he's the you want him to succeed. But it's interesting, because you get to thinking, how would, if you had to get rid of 30 million pounds in 30 days, that's £1 million a day, without accumulating any, so you couldn't go buy 12 helicopters, because, cause that is something tangible. You're not supposed to have any assets. So you'd have to rent a bunch of helicopters. You'd have to rent a bunch of speedboats. You'd have to rent all your clothes, all your tuxedos, and rent it. So you have nothing at the end of it. Funny stuff. Richard Pryor is always good anyway, I think, in all of his movies. John Candy, very good as well. But he's always good. Worth a go. What is it? There was back in the 80s. There was a whole slew of this kind of, this one, he inherits a load of money. But back in the 80s and 90s, when the lottery first started in England, I don't know what year that was, but there was every other film. All of a sudden, loads of lottery films came out. There'll be anything revolving around winning the lottery and the problems that would ensue. This is slightly different because it's in inheriting. I'll tell you, Dirty Dancing with Patrick Swayze, the girl's dad is in it. He's the basketball coach. He was in Law and Order as well. Anyway, Brewster's Millions. Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Now, this is one of those, wouldn't it be good to be young kind of movies, carefree and not giving a shit about anything. Ferris Bueller, Matthew Broderick, who was, actually I found out a fact about him. He actually killed somebody. He went to Ireland on a holiday, was driving on the wrong side of the street, had a crash with somebody, and he ended up paying like £1,000 fine. So it's not bad for killing somebody, I guess. Pretty much scot-free. But yeah, that was in Ireland. He did that. That was years back, after Ferris Bueller here. Anyway, there you go. You got your three main characters on the back. You got Ferris Bueller in the middle. You got his girlfriend. You got his mate at the back. He's pretty much living a charmed life. Everybody loves him. Every group at school loves him. It's funny because they find out he pulls a sickie from school, and the whole town's worried about him because he's just a loved character. He persuades his mate here to steal his dad's prized car. I'm not sure what type of car, but it's a really fancy sports car. A red Ferrari, it says on the back here. They steal the car. They drive to New York. They get mixed up in the Mardi Gras, the convoy with all the, floats. He starts singing a song, Twist and Shout. The teacher is really funny. And he was in Deadwood as well. The guy who run the news agents, the newspaper printing in Deadwood. I can't think of his name. I'll recognise it if I. Matthew Broderick, Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Well, actually, his name doesn't seem to be on the back here for some reason, which is a bit of a shame. But anyway, his teacher is really funny. His teacher, the headmaster, knows that he's up to something. He's not buying this, this sick business. So he's trying to go around the house, trying to break into the house, and trying to talk his way in there. His sister comes in, and he tries to, basically, get past her to find out that Ferris Bueller's pulling a fast one. It's just a feel-good comedy movie about being young, carefree. Admittedly, he's living a charmed life, but very funny. Now, Das Boot, the director's cut. A widescreen presentation. Hitler sent out 40,000 men aboard German U-boats during World War II. Less than 10,000 returned. Now, this is a very you've got your U-571, which is basically the Americans saved the fucking war all by themselves, trying to chase down the Enigma machine. This is nothing to do with the Enigma. The only similarity was that is just a gung-ho American saves the world. This story is from the German point of view. But basically it follows the crew of a German U-boat from the very beginning, when they're stocking the boat and they're calling all the soldiers away from leave to get onto the U-boat to depart. Now, this has got a unique feature where you can watch it in the original German. All the actors are speaking their native German, or you can watch it dubbed in English, where some of them, like this guy, I want to say, is that him, Wolfgang Peterson? The lead, there you go, I'll show you the back. I'm getting bloody comments flashing up here. There you go. The captain right here. He dubs his own character in English. He speaks it in German for one version. So you got two versions on one disc over here. So you can watch it in the original German, or they dub it in English, and he's dubbing it in English for his own voice. So that's the real guy dubbing it in English. But you've got everybody else being dubbed in English. And it's not one of those, like sometimes being dubbed can look really bad. I mean, admittedly, you can tell that, because they're speaking in original German, when it's dubbed, you can tell it's being dubbed, but it doesn't detract from the movie. And it is so gripping It's an unusual angle, because all these war movies, you see them from the English or you see them from the American point of view. This one is all from the German, So I mean, it's so they all go aboard, and they're all clean shaven. And actually, there's a scene where the guy says, you really should be, you ought to take a photograph of them now. Because by the time we finish this, they'll all have beards, long hair and beards. It's so claustrophobic. The captain is a very good captain. He's very good at his job. The crew trust him. They're going around the ocean, and they torpedo a few boats and whatnot, and basically, of course, they're having mechanical trouble, which is always an issue when you're in a U-boat movie. But it is very suspenseful, very good. Even if you watch it in the English dubbed, it is because it's done by a lot of the original characters. They do it in German and English. It is a treat to watch this one. It is quite a long film. And what they've done, the people in the shop have actually drawn some numbers. 200 minutes. 200 minutes. Bloody hell. That's 3 hours and 20. 60, 120, 180. Yeah, 3 hours and 20 minutes. Let me tell you, that's about the longest film. You have to go watch Lord of the Rings to find a movie that long. But 3 hours 20, it's 200 minutes. But it is well worth the viewing of this one. Das Boot. Now, this one, like I say, the director's cut. It might be longer than normal because it's the director's cut. There's probably some extra footage. It doesn't say anything about extra footage, but it says the director's cut. But yeah, English and the German version. I must see that one, Let Me In. Now, I watched The Road. You can actually go on, it's actually on YouTube. The Road with Viggo Mortensen. Speaking of Lord of the Rings, I did a moment ago. This kid, I believe, is the kid from The Road with Viggo Mortensen. Now, he plays a kid. He's living in a block of flats or an apartment building with his mother, I think. Probably his mum. Anyway, somebody moves in next door, who he believes is father and daughter. He strikes up a casual friendship, being at the same age, a casual friendship with her. They get to be pals. But the thing is that there's a bit of a twist to her character. She is a vampire, and the person who is assumed is her dad is actually her carer. The person who basically looks after her while she's hibernating in daylight or whatever, So yeah, she's permanently a child, a 15-year-old, 14-year-old, because that was when she was made into a vampire. So she's permanently there, and yeah, but basically she's going around and she's biting the necks of all the local residents. He finds this out. They still remain friends because basically he doesn't have too many buddies, and she's a loner anyway because she can't be making friends with everybody because she's a vampire, and of course her carer wants to keep it on the down low. Doesn't want her mixing with people because she's a killer. There's one bit of dodgy special effects. The special effects are really good where she's climbing up a building into a window, along the sheer face of a wall. That was quite interesting. But there's one bit of dodgy special effects. It's very, very quick. It's when she's running along and she jumps on the back of the. There's a detective who's trying to investigate all these these killings. She jumps on him and biting his neck, and the boy here witnesses this. He's pretty shocked, but he's got the choice of running, getting help, or sticking around and basically letting her murder the policeman. It's her when she's jumping all over the policeman. That looks a little it's very quick, but it looks like it's a bit of a CGI. But aside from that, is a top-notch story. It's basically you could say platonic, of course. I was going to say a love story between these two. It's platonic, of course. There's nothing shady going on between them because it's a it's a 15th certificate, but it's kind of a platonic love story. But I'll tell you the twist. You can plug your ears if you don't want to hear it. But here goes. The girl is going from place to place because after a while they outstay their welcome. People are dropping dead left and right. They've got to move on, right? But the girl is traveling around with who is advertised as the girl's dad. I mean, the guy's 45, 50 years old. He's got his teenage daughter. People are, they're going around as father and daughter. It turns out that the relationship that she is having with this young boy, this 14-year-old who's living next door, is the same relationship that she had with the man who everybody's pretending that is the dad. I don't know if that makes any sense. So basically, the guy who's pretending to be the dad, who goes out and murders a few people on her behalf to get the blood, he used to be, when he first met her, he was 14 and they were in love, all those years ago, 40 odd years ago. But of course, she stays the same age. He gets older. He has to pretend to be the dad in order to pass through, towns and cities without getting, suspicious of doing killings. So effectively, the old man, at the end of the movie, the old man is sort of out of the picture. And that's where he joins in. They end up being their pals. They've got this love thing going. They skip town and get on the train while she's in the box. And then you realize when you see an old picture, it's when she, of course, was the same age she is now, but when her dad figure was young. So basically, you get to really think, right, well, now they're going to start off as being friends, but eventually he's going to get older and older and older and older. She's going to sort of what? Now, I'm waffling on a bit now. I hope that makes sense. But it's worth a go. I tell you, it is, again, one of those, it's story based. There's a little bit of CGI with it because, I mean, you got a 12-year-old leaping up trees and climbing out of windows and that because she's a vampire and she's able to do this and all, but all in all, it's quite gripping. She is, because she's been doing this a long time, she's perfectly suited and capable and willing to basically, kill people and drink their blood. I mean, that's what she's been doing for the last 100 odd years. It's no big shocker, but to most people, like the boy here, it's a bit of a shocker at first when he sees it, but eventually he gets used to the idea. Yeah, but I again, I don't think I'm selling it all that well, but I'll tell you what, there is an amazing car crash scene. Okay, what happens? The guy who's pretending to be the girl's dad, what he does is, because sometimes the girl will go out and kill somebody and drink their blood. Other times he will go out, he'll jump a hijacker, right, and hang them up from a tree, cut their throat, bleed them out into a bucket, and that's the blood that he takes back to her, so she doesn't have to go out and murder somebody. He's in the process of what he's done. There's a guy, a kid, drives his car to a shopping, to a shop, gets out of the car, goes in, he's buying some cans of lager or some shit, right? Meanwhile, the dad figure, who's a famous actor, who I can't think of his name. Oh, there you go. Cody Smith McPhee. Yeah, he was in The Road, it says back here. Um, oh, and the girl, by the way, is from the Kick-Ass movies. Anyway, so the kid gets out of his car to go to a shop, get some cans of booze or some whatever the hell else. The girl's dad, or who we think is the dad, gets in the back seat, and he's got a bag over his head with the intention of mugging this, bashing it, knocking him unconscious with the intention of murdering him. So what happens is he's in the back seat. He strangles this kid, drags him into the back seat. Now the dad guy is in the front seat. He's driving away, but the trouble was, this kid's mates see what's going on. They run after and attack the car. He slams it in reverse, and this is an amazing scene. I'm going to try and describe the scene for you, where the camera is fixed in the back seat. Okay, so he's looking at the rearview mirror and the windscreen, right? So, and then the guy hits a ditch. He rolls the car a bunch of times down a hill, and because the camera is fixed, you see the mayhem that's going on inside the car. The camera doesn't move. It's the car the camera stays steady. The carnage going on inside the car of people bouncing around, bang, 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 as it's going down the hill. And also you see through the window. It's like that old thing where when somebody's rolling down a hill, as he grass, sky, grass, sky, grass, sky. It's them rolling down a hill. That's what happens out the window. You can see that all going on outside. You can see him bouncing around. You've got cans of lager. You've got bags of crisps. You've got all kinds of stuff flying around the car. It's such a really good camera angle they've done. Anyway. Oh, and this is a remake of a French movie. Which, by the way, the French one, from what I can tell, it's pretty much scene for scene. The French version, this American version, is scene for scene for the French version. Only the girl is blonde in this version, and the boy is dark haired. In the French, it's reversed. So that's one of the very few. Hollywood likes to shake things up a little bit. Makes more sense than changing male characters for female, changing white characters for black characters, like they like to do, just to shake us, so we can't see what they're doing. But yeah, they changed the boy and girl from blonde to dark. Max. Okay, I got a thing there. Let's see, Max Larson. We had to wait for Das Boot number 1. Indeed, I was fishing just outside the submarine bunker when we docked our cargo ship there. Only found out years later. From the German Navy for nearly 2 days just to get in the dock just outside Das Boot bunker. I was spinner fishing just by 2 cents. So it looks like he's saying he was on the scene of the Das Boot. War Ready. Yeah, back on the movies, doing some movie reviews. Chemotherapy Wig. The original Scandi version of Let Me In is probably better if you don't mind subtitles. Still a decent film, though. Yeah, I'll tell you what, though, those foreigners, some of them actually make some quite good movies, but it's just that a lot of people don't like to read subtitles, I personally, I'm fine with subtitles. I don't mind subtitles as long as it's not an action movie. I think if I have to read subtitles and watch fast moving car chase, for example, or something that I need to watch in order to understand. I can't be bloody reading at the same time. I can't be doing both. But if it's just a regular movie without too many car chases or aeroplane crashes and all this lot where you have to take your eyes off what's being read, I have a problem with that. I don't like to be doing the two things. But yeah, personally, I'm fine with subtitle movies. Because I've seen some French movies, I've seen some foreign movies, subtitles. They do make some very, quite some good movies, those Frenchies. Ems Harrison, I keep watching your videos. Keep it up. Thank you very much. Naz050, the Chips, John Baker and Frank Poncho. Oh, Chips, the TV show. Yeah, I remember that on the California Highway Police, I believe. Good American series. Well, that's the thing. I mean, it was in its day. Yeah, I was quite, I liked it, but I was a kid. I didn't know any better, Chemotherapy Week. Check out Mulholland Drive. I believe I've watched that. I can't remember too much. Mulholland Drive. I do remember. I want to say Nick Nolte, but I don't think he was at Mulholland Drive. I don't know. There was one movie I saw with Nick Nolte. He played, a police detective along with a few others, and they discovered that somebody was thrown out of a plane once. They find a dead body all mashed in the desert. Turns out she was thrown out of a plane. I don't know whether it's that one. I'll tell you what. We've got quite a few people watching. Anybody like my reviews and you want to see more, by all means hit the thumbs up. And if there's enough viewings and thumbs up, I'll know to do some more. Now, what's this one? Oh, this looks like the Goonies. There you go. Yep, there you go. I was looking at the picture of the back. The Goonies. Now, this was very popular back in the 80s, where they used to, instead of having a photograph, they used to get some guy to paint a picture. So you've got very, very slight resemblances to all the kids. Of course, you got a Steven Spielberg movie, full-length version. Ooh, like I mean, how many of us just go out and buy the half-length version? I mean, what the fuck? Anyway, yeah, this has got Josh Brolin in it. Of course, from No Country Old Men. His dad was in Westworld with Yul Brynner. Yeah, this is just I mean, it's unrealistic, of course, but it's just a feel-good coming-of-age movie type. Is a coming-of-age movie along with treasure and pirates and gangsters thrown in the mix. The Goonies, they're a little club of kids who call themselves the Goonies. As a little club. That was an impression of Key and Peele. If you ever want to see something funny, go on to Key and Peele, the substitute teacher. He's in there, the club. The Goonies. Now, what they are is, I think the basic idea is like the two brothers, Brolin and some other kid in there. Their brothers. I think their family are going to up and move. Of course, they don't want to move because all their friends are in this town. I don't know. It's just and the comedy ensues where you got a little Chinese kid there. He's the gadget. He's the gadget man. He's got false teeth on a spring. That's a bit like a Chinese version of Indiana Jones. In actual fact, was he in Indiana Jones? You know, the little kid, short round. That might well have been him. I don't know. Uh, Anyway, but yeah, they all kinds of yeah, and what they do, they end up finding some underground tunnels. They meet up with some gangsters. You know, they find a treasure ship. It's just some good wacky fun. You know, nothing too serious. Just some funny stuff. All right, what we got. Speaking of funny stuff, there you go. Happy Gilmore and Sandler. Yeah, Sandler. Happy Gilmore. This is for some reason it's got an uncredited um, Ben Stiller. He plays the old folks' home orderly. He's the one with that big moustache, handlebar moustache. Uncredited. I don't know why he didn't want to have his name on there. He's quite a good. You know, he's kind of like he's real kiss ass to the people, to the guardians of the old people. You know, they come in and say, no, don't worry, we're going to take perfectly good care of your grandmother. Don't worry. As soon as they're out the door, and that's it. You know, right? Shut the hell up and get busy with these quilts and all this. He's got all the old folks making all the quilts, you know, for making a bit of money on the side. But the idea is, old Granny is going to lose her house. It's up to Happy Gilmore here to basically go, because he's an ice hockey player. He's got a bit of anger management issues. He's going to use his skills as an ice hockey player to go onto the golf course and play golf and win all the tournaments, win all the money, so Granny can keep her home. And there's all kinds of funny stuff in there. You've got Carl Weathers, who was in the first Predator movie, I think. I'm sure. And he played Apollo Creed in the Rocky movies. Yeah, he plays a character in here, an ex golf pro. Trouble is, an alligator took his hand off, which apparently that can be a problem in American golf courses. Where they have actually alligators living in the, like I've played golf and you got like a stretch of water. Apparently, I've seen them on YouTube. You know, you get alligators coming out of the water. God knows why they'd have them in there. Well, you think they'd get rid of them, right? You know. But anyway, he loses his hand at some point. And basically, Shooter McGavin is the top golfer. I want to say Christopher McDonald, because that's the name on the back of the Shooter McGavin. My note is itching again. And just some wild comedy. There's a guy called Bob Barker. I think he's an old guy who does the American Play Your Cards Right, or one of these game shows in America. He's really well known. He plays himself on the golf course, and he has a fight with Happy Gilmore, which is quite funny, and it's good sort of slapstick, funny fun. Frankie Hand. Hey Mark! Exclamation. Me and my boyfriend. Should that be boyfriend and I? I don't know. Me and my boyfriend Ben watch your videos literally every day. Thank you ever so. That's good. Don't forget to hit the thumbs up and all that. Thank you very much for watching, Frankie Hand. Josh says Goonies is a childhood classic. Indeed, it is. Yeah, Cyndi Lauper, of course, did the song to that. Yeah, you don't hear about Cyndi Lauper much nowadays. Brian Richard Brown says Ki Hoi Quinn was in the Temple of Doom. Yeah, I figured it might be the same kid. Yeah. So that kid did all right, didn't he? Temple of Doom and the Goonies. Mad Maz. Now, I might go on the vodka in a while. At the moment, I'm on the energy drinks. No, that's the thing. But the thing is, vodka's not a big issue for me. Sometimes I'll drink it, sometimes not. But today I'm just on the energy drink. Ugh. Yeah, it's kind of sharp though. It's like a sharp cherry. I prefer this way more than Red Bull. It costs £1 for a litre. And the thing is, I do like. I've recommended these before. You go to Lidl's and Aldi, buy those cans of energy drink. You can buy like 3 or 4 for £1. They're really good. Anyway, what we got here? Oh, see what I'm doing? I'm trying to guess it by the picture on the back. So just to see, because I can't, if I hold it there, I can't see in the screen. By the way, Dirty Rotten Scoundrels. Now, I think, like a lot of decent films, I have a feeling that this is a remake, probably of a French one, because they do some funny stuff. Maybe somebody can correct me if I'm wrong. I think this is a remake. Anyway, but it's got Michael Caine and Steve Martin. Now, the idea of these at the start of the movie, they don't know each other. They're just two con men. All right, you got Michael Caine, who is a con man on a high level. Right, he's whining and dining and making up all kinds of bullshit stories, trying to extort money out of rich widows. Uh, you got a widow that she's inherited a load of money. He comes in and he's spinning a yarn about how he's the prince in some kind of it's some war-torn country, and he needs money for his freedom fighters, and they'll hand over a bunch of money, and basically so he can live the good life. And when he does, he travels around, so keeping one step ahead of these rich widows. So he's on the high end of the extortion. He works in thousands and thousands of pounds, or the equivalent currency. Steve Martin, he does the same thing, but he's at the lower end. He's a con man who's basically conning, $10, $20 up to $100 here, $50 there, $20 here. He'll come up with a similar story to him over there. Like, he's on a train to visit his grandmother who's dying in hospital, and he hasn't got any money because he spent it all on treatment just to get a free meal. So you got two con men, lower end, basically working for £5 and £10 at a time. This one's doing it for 5 and 10, 100 or 1,000 at a time. Anyway, but the trouble is they end up working in the same area. Now, Steve Martin, his actions are attracting the attention of the police, which is a problem for him. I mean, he's got the policeman in his pocket, but he only managed to operate because he's doing it under the radar. He doesn't bring attention to himself. Whereas this guy is just foolish, and he's getting himself arrested. They eventually they team up. And all hilarity ensues. Dirty Rotten Scoundrels. It is, it is actually funny stuff, because you've got, of course, he's the upper class criminal, Steve Martin the lower class criminal. Michael Caine brings Steve Martin up. He teaches him how to. There's funny scenes where he's teaching him how to behave in polite society. How to hold your champagne, how to walk, how to lean up against a pillar, looking cool in your suit and your neck scarf and all that lot. Trying to teach him how to not, how to blend in high society. Funny stuff. Anyway, what we got? Now this one, Now, this is strange. I've only just noticed that, let's see. Oh, I see. Christian. Oh, well, actually, well, I was going to say, it's got Christina Applegate. Her name's not on the front. It's a bit of a shame. Christina Applegate, you may remember from Married with Children, the Bundy family, the slutty blonde daughter. Man, she is quite dishy, as far as in my opinion. But anyway, she's in it. She's on the back cover. That's her there. Now, the idea is these two. You got Gene Reno over here. He's like a knight in the in medieval. I don't know. Mind you, that's the funny thing, because I mean it'd be medieval France. I think he was in, and then they go back. They go forward in time and end up in America. So that happened. Anyway, but what are you going to do? I mean, it's not really a sort of a science movie. But yeah, he's a knight, and this is his little dog's body, bit similar to Baldric, I guess, in the Blackadder show. He's basically his lackey, he's dog's body. There's what's his name? Can't. Malcolm McDowell. Malcolm McDowell plays a wizard who somehow sends these forward in time. They end up in modern day America with Christine Applegate and her boyfriend, who was in American Psycho. Do you remember when Christian Bale was going to strangle his workmate because his workmate was, sort of was trying to tell Christian Bale that he's in love with him or something, being a queer. So Christian Bale was going to strangle him. That one. He's in it. He plays the boyfriend. He's really good because it's one of those movies where these two Frenchmen, they don't know anything. They're in modern times. They go into the gents and they find all these mints in the urinal, right? And so of course they're filling their pockets up with these mints, not knowing that they're disinfectant for the urinal. And he comes out. He's got a handful of them. The boyfriend is one of these. He's really obnoxious types, but he's like, right, he sees them with some mints. Right, come here. And he's taking a mint, eats them. He's like, I don't know, a bit tangy, but it's like that kind of humour, But the way the way they're holding up the mints, they're like, oh, well, look at this, and he clicks his right. Come here, I want some of that. Right, come here. It's a funny scene, but it's but yeah, it's basically fish out of water. These two are basically from medieval times. They come to the future. They don't know anything. They don't know what a car is or a television. They think that the devil is in the talking box, and they get hold of a telephone, and they're like, they don't know how a telephone works, but they're shouting down it and talking with somebody. Not when they hold it up to your ear. You're sort of like, they're screaming down it. But yeah, just some wacky fun. I mean, as long as you get over the fact that they've managed to come forward in time for no good bloody reason, other than the wizard made a spell and sent them into the future. But basically, fish out of water, and it's fun to watch. It's some funny stuff. Where they think that they're attacking the car with their swords because they think it's some kind of metal dragon. The kind of silly nonsense. We go. Right. Okay. Now this is a funny movie as well. Envy. It's got Jack Black, Ben Stiller. It's got that woman Wiss. It's got Christopher Walken in it. I'm sure her name Ben Stiller. Okay. Her name doesn't seem to be on the back, but I think her name is Wyss, Rachel Wyss. She was in The Mummy. There you go. She was in what, like the first one or two Mummies, one with Brendan Glazer. Anyway, yeah, these two are friends. They I don't think they work together, but they live next door to each other, and they're buddies. Jack Black is one of these guys. He'll just have an idea, one of these he'll have 100 ideas coming through his brain of how to get rich, as long as and of course Ben Stiller, he's sort of puts up with it. He doesn't think any of these ideas are any good. They're just sort of wacky silly ideas. But he has when Jack Black comes up with an idea, I would say, like when you got your dogs, taking a dump on the lawn, how do you get rid of it? It's like, what if we had a spray? You spray it, and then it disappears. You go, just this, and of course that's just a wacky idea that one of many. Ben Stiller, he doesn't believe it's going to happen, but Jack Black actually, with the help of somebody, actually invents this spray. They call it Vaporize. They vaporize Vaporize, and of course it makes him a millionaire. So when they, and then of course, Jack Black, he's like one of these. He doesn't know, he's got no, he's sort of like not classless, but he definitely doesn't have a clue. In his, they live in a close, a dead end, like a one way in, one way out, like a close. He builds a castle, a big mansion type castle, where his house was. He's got ponies and he's got all kinds of. He's basically living the high life. His mate is thinking, oh shit, he had the chance to come in. So their friendship is starting to drift apart because, Ben Stiller, of course, he doesn't have the money that this guy has because he's a millionaire now. So, but Jack Black invites him in, being a friend of, wants to keep the friendship going. It's a comedy. I'm not really selling it as a comedy, but he invites him in as being partners so they can be friends again. And all comedy, comedy ensues then. Ben Stiller is pissed off at his mate. He accidentally kills Jack Black's horse, which is where Christopher Walken comes in, trying to dispose of a dead horse, which is not an easy thing to do. They try and bury it. It ends up in the river, going down the canal. All kinds of comediness. It's a funny, lighthearted. If you get over the fact that it's a bit silly, whereas they've invented a spray to get rid of dog turds, you spray it and it just disappears. If you get over that, it's just wacky fun. It's actually quite funny. King Frank is in the house. Hello, you. Right. Oh, what's this? Terminator 2 Judgment Day. In fact, I'll tell you how these are the stickers that I used to have in my. This is a rental copy from my shop. In fact, on the back here is the number 942, because every DVD, every box had a number which coincides with the sticker which is on the disc, so you can match the two together for rental. This was 942, and that is the sticker. It was a 2-day rental for £2.50, or if you take the 2-day films, 2-day or 7-day films, you could have 5 for £5 for 5 nights. That was one of the deals that I had. But that's how far that was. Fuck me, I bet. Swearing again. I've had this since I had the video shop, and that was must be 15 years now since I've had that. That's how long I've had this particular DVD. Yeah. Anyway, Terminator 2 Judgment Day. Of course, this is number 2, the sequel. This is where you have Robert Patrick. See, the first one, Arnie was the bad guy. The second one turns out Arnie's the good guy, and the bad guy is Robert Patrick, the silver robot, who is not, for some reason, they didn't think to put him on the cover, which you think you would, right? You know, you got some big evil silver liquid metal robot. But anyway, for some reason they didn't put him on the cover. So yeah, you know, same old thing. This time round, Arnie is the protector. You got the silver robot coming in trying to kill John Connor. Furlong, Edward Furlong is the name of the guy. Brian Richard Brown came out in 1991. I don't know what movie you're referring to there, unless you're talking about this one. I don't know. I can't see it. Oh, actually, yeah, might be 1991. It says on the back here. 147 minutes. So what's that? 60, 120. Hell. Nearly 2.5 hours. Nearly 2.5 hours. But yeah, so but this is actually quite a good movie. There's the special effects, which I'm not really a big fan of normally, but the special effects were very good when it comes to the morphing of the silver robot into other characters. He can Robert Patrick can take over, or if he has contact with one person, he can imitate that person. Whether he's blending in with the floor, and the twin security guards step over him. They're actually twins in real life. Those security guards. It wasn't like Sky Double. It was like they're proper twins. They were in Good Morning Vietnam as well. You've got the kids. John Connor's stepmom. She was in the Alien 2 movie. Yeah, just some good action thriller carnage movie. It's very good. The first one, of course, was excellent. This one was very good. I think they sort of go, so but basically they're basically the same old shite they've been churning out afterwards. And but the first two are the best. Right, what we got? Right. Now, this is actually interesting. This is a 3 box set. I've got Terminator, which I forgot. I didn't think I had Terminator 1. I know I got 2, and I got I got the John Connor, I got the Christian Bale one. Anyway, we've got Terminator 1, you got Predator 1, and Commando, 3 Arnie movies. Now, I've got the receipt. I like to keep the receipt sometimes. Let's see. Oh, I see. Oh, right. Okay, I'm getting a bit confused because I bought this with some other movies. Now, the Terminator / Predator / Commando DVD cost me £2. Oh, I'm reading the receipt on the back, but it actually says there. Oh, shit, look a dummy I am. Yeah, I bet £2 for. Actually, and there's 3 discs. There's 3 discs. So you got Terminator on 1 disc, Predator on 1 disc, Commando on 1 disc. So that's not bad. 3 movies, 3 Arnie movies for £2. So you've got you got your Terminator 1, which is the best one. It's gritty, it's dark, it's grungy. Arnie's the bad guy coming before she can give birth. It's kind of like those paradox. For anybody who's not seen it, it's kind of strange to. You got Terminator. You got the Terminator. Oh, my nose is itching. Sorry. You got the Terminator coming back from the future into the past to kill Sarah Connor before she can give birth to John Connor, who's going to go into the future and be the leader of the resistance. Now, to prevent that, the Terminator goes back in time to kill the mum. To prevent the mum from getting killed, another man, Kyle Reese, comes from the future to go back in time to protect Sarah Connor from Arnie. But in doing so, he bones Sarah Connor. She has the baby named John Connor, who is going to grow up to be in the future the leader of the party. So it's strange that Kyle Reese has to go back to father a child who grows up to be the resistance fighter, who sends Kyle Reese to go back to protect his mum from being murdered before she can get impregnated by the guy that he sends back. To this, Jesus. But it actually makes sense if you watch the movie. Predator. Okay, here's another one, another very good one. This was the best one, I think. They've I think they've made two of them, didn't they? They made this one was the first one, and then they made one. The second one was like Predator in New York or stuff, where the Predators fighting the Yardies. And then, of course, you've got Predator versus Alien versus Predator, all those series, But this was the first one in the jungle, very gritty, very sweaty, very hot and humid, invisible space alien, people getting shot left and right. Commando. Yeah, Commando is another Arnie one. This is just basically an action fest, and you throw Arnie in it, and you're going to make money. The stories, wasn't a lot of imagination went into the story. Arnie here, he's an ex-Green Beret type. Actually, he's not a Green Beret because he has a fight with a Green Beret later on. He's an ex-commando. He's an ex-commando who's retired. He's living in the woods with his daughter. Christ knows where the mum is, dead probably, or whatever the hell. Who cares? He's living with his daughter. His daughter gets kidnapped by some Colombian drug lords or whatever the hell. He has to go, and then the bad guys want him to do a job. Otherwise, they're going to kill the daughter. One of those. And so, of course, he figures turn the tables, rescue the daughter, and kill the bad guys, and don't do the job that they want him to, kind of thing. Nothing much to it, but it's got Arnie in it, so that's good enough for the box office, But 3 films for £2. What's that? That's just under 75p a film. Quite a bargain. We go right now. I'll tell you, this is another. It's a kind of a gem. This one. It's one of those where if it was in the video shop, you'd probably walk by it. It's called Sideways. I'm not exactly certain, because sometimes the title relates to the movie, and other times it don't. Other times, sometimes you can tell straight away the title is related to the movie. Sometimes you have to watch the movie in order to get the title. Sideways, I've watched this a few times. Maybe it's their plan that goes sideways. When a plan goes wrong, your plan's gone south, or if this whole situation goes sideways, then we're in trouble. Possibly that. It's got Paul Giamatti. I watched a film. I watched it years ago. I watched it the other day as well. American Splendor. He was in that, about the guy who used to, make a comic book out of his life. He did. He was in one of the Planet of the Apes ones. The one with Marky Mark. Stupid bunch of crap. He was in that one. He played a monkey. Actually, for some reason, I don't like being called monkeys in Planet of the Apes. They get right offended. I don't know. That was just in that particular version, the Marky Mark version. Yeah, you call them a monkey and they'll beat you to death. But I don't get it. But anyway, but yeah, he's a fun guy. I mean, he's like certain actors. He can play angry in a really funny way. There's a scene where he's kind of like depressed because he's like, I don't know, his life's going not particularly anywhere. I think his wife. Him and his wife got a divorce, or they got separated, or the divorce. She's moving on with her life. He's kind of depressed. His friend here, Thomas Hayden Church, he played the Sandman in one of these Spider-Man movies. He's been in a whole bunch of stuff. His mate is a TV actor. Now he's a bit of a ladies' man. He's basically, he sees anything in a skirt and he's jumping all over it. Virginia Madsen and Sandra Oh. She's a bit of she's quite dishy for a Chinese woman. Anyway, but Paul Giamatti, he's one of these actors. I like him because he can play funny. He can play angry in a funny way. Some actors can do that sort of thing. They can be angry without the threat of violence that's coming in. And there's one scene where they're outside outside a restaurant, and Hayden Church is saying to him, "Look, just be a pal. I want to play along. Just be nice." And Giamatti saying, so all right, I'm going to go in, but I'm not drinking Merlot. Like this. But it's a real funny scene where he's angry, but he's not, like, no aggression there as such. He's just burst of energy. I'm not drinking Merlot. It's like that's a big, a big taboo sort of thing. You don't drink Merlot because it's not done. But he's a wine connoisseur, and him and his friend Hayden Church, they go on a wine pilgrimage sort of thing. They go to the vineyards. They go to several vineyards, sampling this year's crop of wine that's been made from the grapes. Giamatti, he's a bit of an expert. He knows about these things. Hayden Church, his buddy, he's just there for the ride to basically get out of the house because he's going to get married. So he's having, basically, he's going to nail this Chinese woman before he gets married. So he's just there to sample the wine. He doesn't know anything about wine. And, there's a funny scene. It's not a comedy as such. Again, it's like one of those films, it's played straight, but there is funny stuff in it. There's one particular scene, Giamatti there, who's, there you go, there's Hayden Church and Giamatti. Giamatti, he's like, I don't know, he's just been on the phone to his ex-wife, or, where they're doing wine tasting. And basically, so you don't get pissed, what you do, Jesus, so you don't get drunk, and they're not there to get, they're just there to taste the wine. So what you do is you have some wine, gargle it, spit it out to the bucket, and when you've got 20 odd people doing this, the bucket fills up. So he comes along and he's saying, like, just give me some wine. Look, this is a wine tasting. We don't sell wines. It's not a bar. He says, right, look, here's 20 some wine. He necks the wine down. He's not going to get any more wine, and so he picks up the bucket and he tips it. And he's trying to chug as much of this wine as he can. All this wine that's been spat out on the, oh Jesus! But that's how much of a mood he's in. He just want to get so pissed, so drunk, he's willing to chug down a bucket of swilled wine. Oh man! But that's but there is some funny stuff in there, Anyway. But yeah, like I say, it's kind of like a serious, but there's funny stuff in it. It's played seriously, played straight. Now, let me see. I'm trying to guess what this. I can't think what the name is. Pluto Nash. There you go. I'm trying to guess it by the pictures at the back. Okay, I'm getting people on my cookery videos. They're writing messages. When they write messages, it flashes up. Okay. Let me see. Saturday night, Richard coming out. Well, what are you kidding me? Try and stay on. Try and focus, for Christ's sake. Look at it. Right, look, King Frank. Right, normally I'll be doing all kinds of topics. This is not normally. This is not what I normally do on my live streams. I cover anything from gardening to beekeeping to politics to the Chinese virus to the police, TV, like all kinds of subjects. But asking me what I think about the virus. I mean, this is not the. Today I'm doing DVD reviews. Jack Reed says Sideways is a brilliant film. It is indeed one of those dramas which keeps your attention the whole way through. A really good story. It is. It's a very good story. I liked it a lot. In actual fact, as I was reading that, for some reason, I had a video image near the end of the movie, because he's a wine connoisseur. But at the end of the movie, he goes into a roadside cafe and he's having a cheeseburger or whatever, and what he's doing, he's got a paper cup and he has a bottle of wine in his bag. When he's looking around, making sure, and then he's like, under the table, he's filling the paper cup with wine. He's chugging wine from a paper cup in a roadside cafe. It just reminded me, I've actually done that. I've been to McDonald's and I've had my fish fillet and Coke, right? And I've actually poured vodka. It was sitting there in the restaurant, I poured vodka into my Coke. So it just reminded me of something that I've done. So, but that's a scene that he done. And for some reason, that memory just popped in. Yeah. So you drink half your Coke and then you pour in some vodka out your bottle in your pocket. Yeah. Well, the thing is, I mean, I figure I'm a taxpayer, so I can do these things. I mean, what are they going to do? They're going to give you shit for minimum wage. Finley Cardno says it's a good film. Indeed, it is. English Heart, you should do some beer reviews, Mark. Well, the thing is, if you go onto my playlist, I've done 30 odd. I've done alcohol reviews, everything from vodka mixers, more than anything else. I've done probably less than a handful of beers, but I don't often drink beer. I've got a couple in the fridge. But yeah, I mean, if booze comes up that I particularly think is interesting, I'll do a review. But yeah, if you want some booze reviews, go onto the playlist, alcohol reviews. King Frank, sorry, Mark, I haven't watched you for a while. Just was interested to know what you thought about the theories on the web. Oh yeah, well the thing is when on my what I will be, if you come around on my next live stream, I'll be covering any subject that comes up. Normally it's the people who are watching, they send in ideas and I just throw my 2 cents worth. It's just that this isn't that live stream. This is a DVD review live stream. But next one, stick around for the next one. Probably in a few days or so, or when I feel like doing another one, then that'll be the time to I'll be covering politics and world events and anything else. English Heart. I can't do spirits. I end up losing my pants and wandering around town with a road cone on my head. Yeah, man. When I was young, when I was not a teenager, but slightly young, when I was young, I used to do some silly stuff. Oh boy. Yeah, it's good though, being young. Anyway, all right. DVDs. Now, this one, The Adventures of Pluto Nash. The Adventures of Pluto Nash, The Man on the Moon. Now, this, I actually like. This got panned by the critics. Pretty much everybody who's watched it says it's a whole bunch of shite. Thing is, it's it's actually not bad. I mean, it's not great. I mean, it's not going to win any awards, but it's a good, funny space. Basically you've got gangsters in space. Let's see. You've got of course you've got Pluto Nash, played by Eddie Murphy. You've got this guy. He played the in the National Lampoon's Vacations. He played cousin Eddie. I think it was Eddie. Chevy Chase's brother or cousin. You got this guy. He's from The Matrix, and you got her. She was in Clerks 2. She played the manager of the fast food restaurant. She's the one that does that dancing on the roof and the tits are bouncing to the Michael Jackson song. That one. She's quite nice. Anyway, but the idea is Pluto Nash. He's a bit of a wheeler dealer. His mate is getting harassed he owes a bunch of money to the mobsters. One of the mobsters is Paulie from the Rocky movies. I believe it's him. Anyway, his mate owes the mobsters a lot of money. Eddie Murphy says, "Well, I'll tell you what, I'll take over the bar. I'll take on the debt," and he turns it into a roaring success. This is on I guess it's on the moon. The mobsters a few years later, now that it's a success, they want to buy it. He doesn't want to sell. They blow up the place. And basically it's a chase around the moon. The mobsters are him there, the cousin Eddie. What's his name? He plays a robot. Randy Quaid. There you go. His character is Bruno. Randy Quaid. Randy Quaid plays a robot. Eddie Murphy's sort of a bodyguard robot. What's his name? Him from Fawlty Towers. Basil Fawlty. John Cleese. He has a 2 or 3 minute scene in it. He plays the car is the robotic. When the car that they drive, they steal a car, and it's like got an auto drive function, which basically is John Cleese's face saying, doing his typical English thing. It's like the car belongs to Mr. Yakamoto. So he said, "Oh, good evening, Mr. Yakamoto. Wait a moment. You're not Mr. Yakamoto. Who? Hey, you're all right. And how dare you steal this? So basically, he's being like a typical English butler type chauffeur thing, but he's he's basically the electronic car. So you got a bit of funniness from him. But basically they've been chased all over the moon. Louise Guzman, he plays. He's been in a whole bunch of stuff. Louis Guzman. Remember Dumb and Dumberer, the sequel to Dumb and Dumber. It was after, but it was when they were young. Lloyd Christmas and his mate, when they were young, he played the janitor dad. That was Louis Guzman. He's in it. I like him in all the stuff that he's been in. He was in Carlito's Way. He was in that. Anyway, but yeah, it's some good, space action. Lots of spaceships, lots of ray guns, some pretty good comedy. It's not as personally. I don't think it's as bad as what what do the critics know? I mean, screw them. If they had any talent, they'll be out there making their own movies. But they panned it. I personally think it was not as bad as all that. Mr. Omran. He loves Eddie Murphy. Please check out The Golden Child. Mark, it came out in 1989. Yeah, I do remember The Golden Child. It was, I remember at the time I didn't like it too much. Although Charles Dance was in it. He's in Game of Thrones. He was the king that got murdered on the crapper. He's good in pretty much everything that he does, but yeah, the Golden Child, not one of my, but I'll probably watch it again if I got the chance for nostalgic reasons, Okay. Blimey, I'm not going to go to sleep tonight. All that energy drink. Yeah, what's this? I can't tell what this is from the back. Oh, there you go. Says the back. Doesn't tell you bugger all. The bird cage. Now, this is actually quite funny, considering the topic of the storyline of the show. I don't normally go in for these type of where you've got Gene Hackman. He's a politician. You got his wife. You got these two. These two are a couple of benders. What's his name? Robin Williams and Nathan Lane. Nathan Lane was in Mouse Hunt, which I've got up here. I'll tell you about that when I'm going to find the box. But it's a very good film. The idea is the daughter of Gene Hackman and his wife wants to marry the son of Robin Williams here when he was a regular person. He was married to a woman, got divorced, figured out he was into men instead, so he teamed up with this drag queen over here, Nathan Lane. So the daughter of Gene Hackman wants to marry the son of Robin Williams, but the thing is that they of course, these two are benders. They want to keep that a secret from these two because they I don't know. There's all kinds of hilarity ensues. How Nathan Lane, he's a bit of a he's a bit of a fairy. Yeah, I'm trying to a bit of an effeminate. He's a drag queen, right? So he's a bit of a girl. He has to try and butch himself up to try and pretend that he's a regular guy. So there's some funny stuff there because he's used to be pouncing around, eating little, with a finger out, drinking cups of tea. He has to pretend, like there's a scene where Robin Williams is, he's Nathan Lane's crying that he pierced the toast. It's just men don't pierce the toast, men smear the jam. We don't just like put a bit of jam on the top, we smear it. That's how men do it. But all in all, some funny stuff. Considering the actual story, and not something I normally go for, but Robin Williams is normally quite good. Nathan Lane, I actually like that guy. He's done some funny stuff. I don't like him in interviews. I don't like his comedy when he's doing interviews, when he's on talk shows, but I like his stuff when he's in movies. It's funny stuff. Anyway. Let's see. This stack is actually getting quite low. Probably half of them. Yes, Man. Aha. Now this is an interesting one. It's Jim Carrey, of course, as you can tell by the cover. Jim Carrey. He's a guy who doesn't really want to take risks in his life. Anything that his friends come up and say, hey, listen, you want to fancy coming out? We're going to go out and go to a party or catch a movie or like shit. He'll make excuses to get out of it. He doesn't want to do it. He just doesn't want to do anything. Then by a quirk of fate, I think he's sitting outside his work or outside the bank or someone sitting outside in the street, and suddenly runs into his mate. His mate comes along. Hey, it's me from remember me, and and he says, "Listen, you got to try this thing. My life was going to shit, and I found this group, and they turn my life around. You basically open up yourself for new adventures. Here's a card. Go to the thing. So that leads him to go to the conference with Terence Stamp, who you may remember from he played the son of Jor-El in Superman 2, I believe. There's three baddies from Krypton in the black outfits. He was the leader, son of Jor-El. No, son of Superman is the son of Jor-El. Zod, that's his character's name. Zod, General Zod. Anyway, that's Terrence Stamp. He's like the guru, comes out on stage, and he's sort of like trying to get everybody to, basically giving everybody, a couple of hundred people, a pep talk, saying yes, say yes to new adventures. If an opportunity comes up, say yes. Don't be a no man, be a yes man. Be a yes man. So he kind of takes this on board, and from the minute he leaves the conference, like some homeless man. This homeless man, he's cottoned on, and if he hangs outside this place, what he's got to do is ask people for anything, and they say yes because they've been drunk. That's the way they're going to change their life, saying yes to opportunities. So he says yes to giving this homeless man, a ride up into the hills. The guy gets out, jumps in the hedge because that's where he lives, right? Then he meets up with that girl whose name Zoe Deschanel. She was in one of those Return to Oz movies, or the Wizard of Oz, one of those remakes of Wizard of Oz, where you go from a different angle. He meets up with her. A friendship ensues because basically, because the thing is, things start to go right for him. Because if he hadn't have said yes to given the tramp the lift, he wouldn't have run out of petrol. He wouldn't have met this girl. She wouldn't have given him a ride to the petrol station and then back again. They wouldn't have struck up a friendship. Then and basically, he starts going in for everything. He sees a little notice. You want to learn to play the piano? He's doing that. You want to learn speak Chinese? He's going in for lessons. Basically saying yes to everything. And like most of us, if we saw something, you had the opportunity to do something. Do you want to learn to play the piano? Well, not really. Sooner watch the television. That's the mentality that a lot of us have. But he's the opposite. He knows that if he just says yes, that'll open the door to different opportunities, which is kind of true, I guess. If you just say, yes to opportunities that arise, rather than saying no. Anyway, but yeah, he meets up with all kinds of new adventures. He makes all kinds of new friends. Of course, because he works in a bank where his job is to say yes or no to bank loans. So what he's done, he's given out all these loans to people. You open up a cake shop, great, here's a loan. You want to buy yourself a motorbike, here's a loan. And he gets it. Anyway, so and all these good things they come back to he reaps the reward of the doing good. Anyway, but yeah, a good funny movie. And it's sort of like one of those movies that makes you think, well, what if I applied that to my life? What if instead of, reading a newspaper and it says, we're doing a thing where we're pulling shopping trolleys. At the weekend, we're pulling shopping trolleys out of the canal. Do you want to come down and volunteer your time? Most people say no, screw that. But no, it'd be like that, and then you go do that, and then all of a sudden a good thing happens. You meet the love of your life, for example, who's doing the same thing. It's like that. It's like if I just say yes, maybe good things will happen. Ah, right. Yeah, my stepmother is an alien. As soon as I saw that front cover, the bedroom scene jumped into my head. There's a bedroom scene to the music of I can't think of the name. Anyway, but I can't. Anybody help me out with the name of the name of the music that goes with the bedroom scene? This is My Stepmother is an Alien. Oh shit! The daughter there, the little daughter there, she was in Buffy the Vampire Slayer. She was one of the sidekicks. As a side note, how celebs they're caught up in their own porn movies now and again. She was in a homemade porn movie in a hotel room. Her and her boyfriend. Yeah, I actually anyway, but that was when she's an adult. Along with Pamela Anderson, a whole bunch of other. They all made their own homemade porn, and she did one. You got Dan Aykroyd there. Dan Aykroyd, he's the dad. The mum's died or whatever the hell. He's stuck with a daughter. Alien comes down to Earth to basically find out. I don't know what her job is. To find out, maybe do some research on Earth people, or you know what? No, I think he works in a telescope signal place, sending signals out into space. I believe he sends a signal. Her civilization gets hold of it. They come down to investigate. Luckily, she looks like a human. She's like one of these where imagine she doesn't know anything about Earth culture. Basically, she's got a little creature in her handbag who's telling her what things mean and how to go around and negotiate. But yeah, it's quite funny. She's very infantile in her thinking because she doesn't know anything about how Earth works. But yeah, so she'll watch a television show and think that that's how it works. So then she's making like breakfast for 30 people based on what she's just watched on a TV show. That's going to good. She doesn't know any better. Funny stuff. He's got some funny bits in it. Dan Aykroyd, he's always good. What's her name? Kim Basinger. She's there because she looks good. Dan Aykroyd, he's funny. John Lovitz is in it. He's usually pretty good. He was in City Slickers 2. He played the brother. Yeah. Anyway. Ah, right. Now, I've watched this once. It's these two are comedy. These two had a comedy show. I can't remember what it was called. Chemotherapy wig says completely frozen. The timer's going. But, anyway, I'll read a few comments in a moment. Yeah, these two had a comedy show together, and they decided to make a movie like most comedy teams do. This one, I can't remember too much about it, other than they're magicians, like it says on the box. Honestly, they're like I think they're a magician partnership. They have a falling out. I think the trick goes wrong, and one of their girlfriends dies as a result. But I really can't remember too much about this. It's a comedy. It's not particularly great. Paid 50p for it. Okay, what I'll do, let's see. Mr. Omran has seen the Yes Man, but he's forgotten what the story was. It's worth a go, and it's interesting to look at it, think, right, if I was to, things might happen like in the movie, it's one of those things you think, it might be possible. All right, King Frank wants to know about 5G. I don't know what 5G is. People ask me about 5G. Maybe somebody explained it to me last time. I can't remember what it is, but I'm doing movie reviews on this live stream. Mr. Omran, Scotty B is sending Boris Johnson to get well soon card and watching the reruns. Excellent. Chemotherapy wig completely frozen. I don't know if he's talking about the live stream if it's frozen. Mr. Omran, Buffy the Vampire Slayer is so 90s, based there as we were good times television. Yeah, I was never really into Buffy, but it was there. Peep Show, thank you. Right, King Frank. Yeah, Peep Show is the show that these two were in. Peep Show wasn't too bad. I kind of like that, But this movie, not so good. But basically, I mean, they're not going to win the Oscars for it. They were just using their fame to make a movie, which is fair enough. Cannonball done it, Morecambe and Wise done it. They use their fame to make movies or make a movie each. Mr. Omran, Sarah Michelle Gellar, who played Buffy. She was in her early 20s at the time. Now she is 45. Yeah. Oh, what was that? She was in a movie. I can't remember what it was. She was a rich school kid. She had cocaine in her crucifix. She used to take it out, sniff that. I can't think what the name was. And she had a bet with her stepbrother that they could ruin this person's life. And then, man, she was hot in that. She had some lesbian makeout scene with. That was worth the price of admission, as I like to say. But yeah, Sarah Michelle Gellar. What was that movie called? Yeah, man, anyway. I've got to stop drinking this, otherwise I'll never be able to go to sleep. I've drank half of it already. All right, I'll do a few more. It's coming up on 3 hours. I'll do a few more. Right. The Duelist. Now, this is a very good movie. Keith Carradine, who you may remember again with Deadwood, the TV show with Ian McShane. He played Wild Bill Hickok. Of course, he gets shot at the table, at the card table. Harvey Keitel, and there's quite a few famous or recognizable faces, at least, in here. For anybody who's seen this, at the very beginning, when Harvey Keitel is fighting a sword duel in the field with that building on 4 legs, there's a building in the background with 4 tall legs. The very first duel of the movie, that was Alec Guinness's son of Alec Guinness. Anyway, but it's one of those. It's a movie. It is such a good story. Again, Harvey Keitel, he's a bit of a hothead. He's dueling with anybody who he can, basically looks at him cross-eyed. He's in trouble with the higher ups in the army, so the army general sends Carradine here to go and tell Harvey Keitel, make yourself available because you are under arrest. I'm not arresting you. You just get back to your barracks and you consider yourself under arrest because the big bosses say. He takes offence at the messenger, and now they must have about 3 duels sword fighting duels in the movie, and the whole movie spans over 30 years. That's how long this hatred. He hates this guy enough to, every time he sees him, he calls him out on a duel. This guy, he doesn't want anything to do with it. He sort of like tries to stay out of his way, but because they're in the same army, they can't really sort of get away from each other for too long. But it goes to show about, this hatred goes on for like 30 years, or give or take, there's several duels in it, the sword fighting. There's at least 4. I think there's 4. There's one in the courtyard, 4. So there's 4 duels that they fight. There's one particular one where there's one duel where it's in particular. They're in a building. We haven't seen there you go. There's Harvey Keitel and Keith Carradine. This scene right here in the middle. This is an interesting scene where what's happened is I think Ridley Scott has had the 2 actors, sword fight for like ages and ages and ages and ages, like for like an hour, right? And because what he does, we know that we know from previous sword fights, duels, about the rigmarole. They meet, they challenge. I'll meet you at dawn, and here we don't need to see all that. We join this particular fight about an hour into it, when they're pretty much dead on their feet, and basically they're just hacking at each other with these swords. So like I say, we just join it an hour in. We don't need to see all the beforehand stuff. But it goes to show the amount of hate involved when you're in a sword fight with somebody for an hour, and you're so tired, you're not even fighting with the swords anymore. You're just hacking, basically trying to chop pieces off each other. And then there's one scene where Carradine gets his arm sliced, and there's like a big, a big flap that comes, on his arm. That was one of the more intense ones. That was like, it's one of those, you don't need to see everything. You don't need to see the build up. You just join it an hour in, and basically you've got three minutes of fight, but you've missed the whole hour. But you don't need to see the whole hour. It's one of the, because it's one of those style. It's like a good storytelling. You don't need to explain everything to the viewer. The steward, we managed to work out exactly what's just happened by those 3 minutes that we got to see. But yeah, it's just a case. It's amazing, how somebody can hold a grudge and that hatred for so many years on the part of Harvey Keitel, and it takes over his life. Everything he does is like, he's got people going out scouting for this person. If you see him, let me know, and then he'll go in and be in the same tavern as him. Right, I challenge you to a duel, and they can't refuse, because otherwise he'll be deemed as a coward if he refuses to fight the duel. It's got to be in the. It's directed by Ridley Scott, based on Joseph Conrad's story of The Duel. It's got Edward Fox, another big actor, Christina Rains, Robert Stevens, Albert Finney, and it's got a Tom Conti as well. He plays Carradine's doctor or surgeon friend. He's in there. I haven't seen him for ages, but he's a name here in England from years back. It's only 96 minutes. Let me tell you, but it's a good, solid story. Again, it's amazing. You don't need a 2-hour, 3-hour movie to have a good film. This is just an hour and a half, and it is very Very, a very good story. There's a scene in one of the early duels where Carradine has a cold and he's trying to fight the duel, and Carradine gets stuck in the chest with a sword. And because but the thing is, because he's injured, you can't just kill the guy because basically you're fighting for honor. You're not fighting to kill someone. But Carradine gets stuck in the chest, so he's unable to continue. And then, of course, having a cold, there's a scene where he's in the bathtub. And I mean, I've had it. Well, I've had injuries, and if you have a cold and you got to sneeze, you got to try and hold the sneeze. Otherwise, you feel like you're going to break in half because of the shudder of a sneeze. Well, he's doing that in the bath. He's got a cold. He's got a skewer. He's got a hole in his chest from this sword, and he's trying to hold back a sneeze. And then he sneezes, and you can see the pain in him because you know how much it hurts. Okay, well, that's The Duelist. I would recommend this one. Let me tell you, it is it's a good, solid story, of how, you're basically carrying on a hatred over a period of 30 odd years. And, for some people that might be quite amazing, but, he manages to do it. Okay, I'm going to call it a day. Okay, not a troll. Took off his comment because he misspelt a name. Let's see. Jack Reed, The Duelist is a good film. Indeed it is. Alec Guinness' son reminds me on the bridge on the River Kwai. Actually, well, Alec Guinness was in it, I believe, not his son, as far as I know. The bridge of the River Kwai. Or you might be saying, you might be thinking, when I say Alec Guinness' son reminded you of Alec Guinness, I think that's what you meant. But yeah, the first duel was done with Alec Guinness' son. But yeah, the Duelist. It's one of those. It's like it's just a good, solid story. No big razzmatazz. It's just a solid. Brian Richard Brown. First duel was 1801. Oh, okay. I'll tell you what. Well, I said about 30 years. I think it's 15, which actually makes more. I was just getting a bit carried away there. Keith Carradine and Harvey Keitel star. You see that star in this dramatic film about two officers in Napoleon's army who violently confront each other in a series of duels. The duel begins as a reaction to a minor incident and escalate into a consuming passion. There's a bit of an, it's because I was talking about my ass there, but 15 years. Based on Joseph Conrad's story, The Duelist explores the themes of obsession, honor, and violence. This visually breathtaking film weaves a compelling story through to an unexpected outcome. It was awarded the best debut film at the 1977 Cannes Film Festival. 77. That was the year of the Silver Jubilee. That's how long that film was. But yeah, very good film. Okay, it's been 3 hours. Coming up in 3 hours. Well, 3 hours, 5 minutes there. Just gone. Let's see. I'll do a couple of shout outs and then we'll call that a day. I'll put them on the shelf. I'll save a bunch for next time. Let me see. Brown says Maz 50, Mad Maz 49 says, Mark, you should do a Chinese meal review. Well, all right, doing movie reviews at the moment, but yeah. Well, the thing is, I'm not. Well, the thing is, I'm due to the Chinese being responsible for the Chinese flu that we're having to deal with, I'm avoiding Chinese products for all. Not a troll, MK. The Imitation Game is my favorite film of all time. I'm not sure. I don't think I've seen The Imitation Game. I don't know what that's about. Naz050, good night, Mark. Very different and entertaining. Thank you ever so. Yeah, I kind of like going through the movies. I mean, like I haven't watched I haven't watched many DVDs for ages. I just don't. I mean, I watch them. I watch a few, but I haven't watched any films. I'm just going by memory on all these films. But luckily, I have a memory for details, so I'm able to do this on movies. But yeah, I mean, it's been fun, and hopefully people have got some recommendations. I mean, there are some gems in there. The Duelist for one, Das Boot for another one. There's been a number of them down in there, and some that are okay, some of them are fairly all right, but there's some gems. And yeah, hopefully I've given you some inspiration to seek a few good films out. Jesse, can you do a shout out for my sister Max, as she having bad time? Thanks, Mark. Okay, all right. There you go. Shout out for Max, sister of Jesse. Hello to you. It says there she's having a bad time. I don't know whether she's ill or what, but anyway. So shout out to Max. I was trying to think what Max is. Maxine, wasn't it? Trying to think what Max is short for in the female. Maybe Maxine. I would imagine. Not a troll, MK. The Imitation Game is about Bletchley Park. Oh, I see. World War. And what went on there? If you can, Mark, you should watch it. The Imitation Game. Yeah, actually, that kind of sounds familiar. I remember the Enigma. That was set in Bletchley. World War II. That was set in Bletchley Park. I've actually been to Bletchley Park. They when I was a kid, they got all these sheds, and you got vehicles, and I don't know, maybe a plane in his hangar, and different cars, and all sorts of other shit. And he goes to a different area. Fucking nose is itching. You got all these communication. You got old-fashioned telephones and switchboards and all that lot. But yeah, there's been a few. Of course, you got U571. That was about capturing the Enigma. You got the Enigma set in Bletchley Park. You got this one, Imitation Game. Jesse, thanks, Mark. No, she just worried about lockdown and how long it's going on for. Thanks, Mark. Okay, sure thing. Not a troll, MK. Keira Knightley is also in Imitation Game. Go back to Bletchley Park. I love it there. It's really interesting. Yeah, perhaps one day I'll take a visit there. Okay, everybody, it's just over 3 hours of film reviews. There'll be another one again. Well, I've got several videos worth. I don't know how many I've done. Probably done about 30 or so. Probably maybe more. Okay, all right, everybody. Last chance to hit the thumbs up, and thank you everybody for watching, for taking part. If you want to hit the subscribe, go ahead. Do that, hit the bell icon, click on all, so you'll be notified. You'll be notified of my cookery vids that have been going on as well. And Jesse, did you do review on Dead Man's Shoes? No, I didn't. It's a very good film. I don't have a copy of that. I don't know why, because I used to have a copy of it, and I don't know why I gave it away. But it's a very good film. It's one of those. I'm sure I don't have it. I wish I did, though. It's pretty good. Anyway. Okay, so yeah, and if you want to help the channel, I mean, it's a bit late now because I'm right at the end of the thing. But if you want to help by help the channel, If you could just allow the ads to play, that'll help pay for the this beekeeping, this beehive that I've got on order, and all the equipment and stuff. Okay. Anyway, thank you everybody, and see you in the next one.